Yo legends! Welcome to Fanfiction Legend. Grab your headphones because today's story is about to hit different. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Marvel, I am Punisher. Chapter 61 Noon has arrived. Chapter 61 Noon has arrived. Yeah, yes, well done, Stark. I said, even Apple phones have backdoors. How could Stark bear not to leave a backdoor in his masterpiece? The next step was easy. After spending a few minutes asking how to use this backdoor, Cohen quietly left. It's not that he doesn't want to save people, but at the moment, it's actually safer for him to stay here. The world outside is too chaotic. It can't compare to the peaceful life here where we have food and drink. Over the next few nights, Cohen continued to play the death game with the American soldiers. His actions greatly accelerated the U.S. military's contraction plan. A large number of small and medium-sized bases and outposts were abolished, and personnel moved into the Bugle base. This fat chicken became even fatter because of him. During this period, the U.S. military also formed professional encirclement and suppression teams composed of Delta, Rangers, Berets, and even Navy SEAL. Set up many traps and wait for Cohen to come. Cohen went there and they were dumbfounded. It is immune to water and fire, invulnerable to swords and guns, and can tear apart a Hummer with its bare hands and kick a tank with its feet. The once invincible American army was taught a severe lesson. General Glenn, the top commander of Afghanistan, locked himself in a room and his hair turned white overnight. He wanted to ask the president for permission to withdraw, but this move would undoubtedly nail him to the pillar of shame. As a last resort, he turned to the Vatican for help. Great Christian Pope who is merciful and loves everyone, please save us lost lambs! When Cohen heard from the wiretap that these senior U.S. military officials were looking for a priest from the Vatican to perform an exorcism, he knew the time had come. If you push it any further, the dog will jump over the wall. So, on a dark and windy night, he quietly came to the armory not far from the test site. This is also a large base with nearly 1,000 people. According to the U.S. military's experience, this place would not be the target of attack by the Death Devil. In addition, according to well-known experience, the Devil does not use weapons. But that night, the sentries at the armory saw a scene that made their hearts stop in the deep night. The huge, two-horned devil, carrying the breath of death, approached them step by step. In his hand, which should have been empty, he was holding a vehicle-mounted M2 Browning large-caliber heavy machine gun. A long ammunition belt extended behind him and connected to a huge iron ammunition box. Fake. Just by seeing this scene, several sentries on duty had lost their confidence in resistance. They had only one wish in their hearts: Devil, could you please leave my body intact? Boom, boom, boom. The M2, which had been silent for a long time, began to roar. A line of fire passed by, and the people and walls were all cut in half. The Devil of Death is coming. At Bugle Base, the phone in the military situation room was ringing like crazy. As soon as the operator answered the phone, he immediately decided to wake up the head of the military intelligence room, the head of the intelligence bureau, and the highest commander of the base. It's getting big. When Admiral Glenn arrived here, the place was already full of people. Where's the phone? What's going on? I want to hear their personal report. Everyone looked at him in a daze. The operator whispered the call was disconnected a long time ago. Glenn was slightly stunned, and the operator considerately played the recording for him. Help, help, the devil is coming. Bang, bang, he's got a gun. Bang, oh, he's coming. Please calm down. Where is your commander? This was the operator's voice. Cold Yu Jing. Sir. The commander was just shot in the head! 12.7 bullet. My brains are all over my mouth. You want me to calm down? The operator consoled him. I have reported this to the commander and the base's highest commander immediately. What is the situation at the scene? Bang, bang. At the scene, a river of blood, corpses everywhere. Hurry up and rescue. We can't stop him at all. Boom, the tanks can't hit him at all. I made eye contact with him. Beep, hello, hello. Are you still there? Hello, the recording was interrupted. Admiral Glenn looked at Intelligence Director Pulver in disbelief. Didn't he say that he wouldn't attack bases with large numbers of people? Pulver's expression was painful, and his lips trembled for a long time. Things in the world are unpredictable. He walked to the computer in the military situation room, connected his cell phone, and took a deep breath. My subordinate at the arsenal sent me a photo of the scene before he died. Let's take a look. Soon, the photo appeared on the huge screen. It was still the Death Devil they were familiar with. But what made them go dark was that the devil was carrying an ammunition box on his back, holding an M2 Browning heavy machine gun in his arms, with a big grin on his face, firing wildly! Admiral Glenn shook his body. Demons can use machine guns? You're telling me now? The entire military intelligence room was silent. Who could have thought that the devil could use a machine gun so skillfully? At this time, the U.S. military has urgently requisitioned monitoring satellites, and the situation of the arsenal is displayed on the big screen. There was only darkness between the distant mountains, and only the space was filled with fireworks and blazing flames, which was a beautiful sight. Admiral Glenn gritted his teeth and roared wildly, "Where are the pilots on duty? Have them take off immediately, bring the largest and heaviest bombs, and blow him to death. There are 2 GBU-43 fuel-air explosive bombs in the warehouse, right? Load them onto the bomber immediately. I want to destroy him without a trace." Everyone present moved their lips, trying to stop it. What is the GBU-43 fuel-air explosive bomb? That is almost the most powerful bomb mankind has ever seen, next to a nuclear bomb. It has a radius of 600 meters and will kill no one or animal. After the drop, the arsenal base didn't have to worry about any rescue work, as no one could survive. Pulver hesitated and said, "Sir, using fuel-air explosive bombs is too much." Before he could finish his words, Glenn stared at him fiercely with bloodshot eyes. Pulver sighed inwardly and shut up. Seeing this, the others stopped talking. Glenn glanced around and snorted, "Don't worry, I will take full responsibility for the consequences of this matter. But now, I only have one request: let that devil die." Following his order, the 3 planes on duty took off with 500 pounds of bombs, and the ground crew began to get busy again. The GBU-43 fuel-air explosive bomb weighs several tons and even requires a transport plane to drop it. So they began to prepare. On the other hand, although Cohen was rampaging in the armory and was invincible, the effect of his massacre was not very good. In a base of nearly 1,000 people, he only killed more than 300 people. The rest either hid in various corners of the base or rushed out of the base and escaped. He went to the arms depot and easily found the 2 Jericho missiles. He dragged them directly to the warehouse door with great force, and then activated the launch system through the back door left by Stark. After a series of operations, the coordinates of the Bugle base were entered, followed by a series of beep-beep sounds. Boom. 2 missiles soared into the sky, drew a graceful arc in the sky, and headed straight for their destination. End of this chapter. Chapter 62, Justice from Heaven. Chapter 62, Justice from Heaven. Looking at the shining light in the sky, Cohen breathed a sigh of relief. The plan was completed. Next, it's time to wait for the harvest. He shook the huge ammunition box behind him and found that there was still a little half left. Now that you are here, you sit all up. The 2 missiles flying out of the arsenal were quickly captured by the radar of Bugle Air Force Base. They stared at the 2 rapidly approaching tracks on the radar, and their worldviews shattered once again. It's okay that the devil can use a machine gun, but he can also shoot missiles. Do you want to be so outrageous? Due to the close distance between the arsenal and the Bugle base, the reaction time was less than 2 minutes, making long-range interception almost impossible. They can only place their hopes on short-range interceptor missiles and the Phalanx defense system. At this time, 2 Jericho missiles were flying above the clouds. Under the moonlight, They shone with a silvery white light, and on the body of the projectile, there was a line of words made by Stark Industries. They even happened to meet the 3 fighter jets flying over, and the 2 sides flashed past each other at a distance of several hundred meters. They were approaching their destination. The computer host controls them to lower their altitude and adjust their flight attitude. Below was the Bugle Air Force Base, with bright lights and sirens blaring. Dive, dive. Ample fuel allowed them to continue accelerating, and soon they exceeded the speed of sound and approached twice the speed of sound. Suddenly, several flashes of light appeared in the base, and interceptor missiles came from bottom to top, crashing towards them with the momentum of mutual destruction. However, the Jericho missile was Stark's carefully crafted creation. With an elegant swing of its tail and a flash of its body, it created distance between itself and the interceptor missile. Even if the interceptor missile exploded immediately, the debris in the sky would not hit them. Closer, closer. More than a dozen dense arrays in the base suddenly opened fire. The dense bullets were like heavy rain, and even flies could not dodge. But just as the phalanx opened fire, the outer shell of the Jericho missile suddenly peeled off. Layer upon layer of elastic cores scattered out like flowers from heaven. The dense formation stopped a small part of them, and the rest all broke through the blockade. In the war room, everyone felt cold and stood there in a daze after seeing this scene. Glenn sighed. It turned out to be the Jericho missile. It seemed he couldn't avoid it tonight. Outside the window, on the runway, a huge C-130 was gliding. In just a dozen seconds, it would take off with the GBU-43 in its belly. Unfortunately, it only took a dozen seconds. The sky was dotted with bullet cores, like the embers of a magnificent fireworks display. Glenn took one last look at everyone. Everyone, it's an honor to fight with you, boom. Violent, unprecedented explosions covered the entire Bugle base. Some say that on that night, God's punishment fell on Afghanistan. All invaders trembled and all criminals were wiped out. The next morning, when support troops from other bases arrived, they saw only scorched earth. It was as if God finished smoking a cigar and then put it out here, leaving behind a charred dot with a radius of hundreds of meters. This is of course the credit of GBU-43. There was a violent explosion in midair, and no one survived at the Bugle Air Force Base. The morning breeze was cool. Cohen sat on the top of a mountain, looking at the arsenal base that had suffered a catastrophe from afar. Those 3 fighter planes last night didn't even have time to drop their bombs. As soon as they reached the top of the arsenal, they lost any contact with the Bugle Air Base, and then they saw a huge, bright explosion behind them. They didn't know what happened. Without orders from their superiors, they could not make up their minds to bomb the arsenal base where their comrades were still surviving and resisting. After flying around the base twice, we had to return, and we were stunned because our home was gone. Just a burning ruin. After discussing it, the 3 of them reluctantly flew to other bases. The arsenal base they abandoned held out for dozens of minutes in the midst of massacre and flames, and then offered no more resistance. As the sun rose, Cohen checked last night's harvest. The most significant gain was 2 kill streaks. The first one was a scattering of 2 Jericho missiles, which resulted in 200 kills. Then there were the 300 consecutive kills caused by the explosion of GBU-43. There are also dozens of gift packs of different levels. Among them, the more valuable ones are a 3-star gold gift package and a 4-star platinum gift package. This made him couldn't help but exclaim that it was a pity that the first platinum gift package did not even reach 5 stars! The chance of getting something good is greatly reduced. But it just means the probability is lowered, which doesn't mean you won't get good stuff. He had the habit of saving the best things for last, so he decisively opened all the gift packages except the platinum one. After a series of system prompts, a long list of rewards popped up. Gain a total of 595 free attribute points and 4 skills: archery mastery, sword mastery, hacker mastery, and skilled in post-mortem care for SOS. He felt no wavering in his heart. As for the system, it was normal for it to convulse, and it would be abnormal if it didn't convulse. Fortunately, the Samsung Gold gift pack gave us a very good ability, flying. This made his eyes light up! Let's not contact each other anymore, you free-range chickens who can't fly. However, after careful study, he found that the maximum speed of flight could only reach 150 kilometers per hour. This isn't much better than free-range chicken! Samsung's gift package is indeed unreliable. Although it can still be used to show off, if you want to use it to travel, you might as well buy a better car. Even so, it will compete with Dragon Energy for the priority use of the next ability upgrade card. Next, assign attribute points. Considering that he may rarely have such an opportunity to obtain a large number of attribute points at one time in recent times, he decided to add combat power first. In terms of defensive attributes, since he obtained the vibranium soft armor and planned not to take it off unless happy, his own defense plus the vibranium soft armor is already strong enough. He only added a dozen points symbolically, bringing it to exactly 300. The same goes for mental attributes. With soul defense, his safety is guaranteed and he does not need particularly high mental attributes. Therefore, it is shallowly added to 280 points. The original attribute of his physique was only 203 points, but with a wave of his hand, he increased it directly to 300 points. The rest are all added to strength and speed, which have the most obvious effect on improving combat power. Strength, 540, speed, 419. His speed and strength increased greatly, and his combat power almost increased several times compared to before. With his current speed, he can become a shadow warrior in the eyes of others, just like the speed demon back then. Ordinary people's eyes simply cannot keep up with his speed of movement. Finally, there is one platinum package left. Cohen stood up, facing the east, facing the rising sun, and clasped his hands together. Jade Emperor, Queen Mother, Tathagata Buddha, and the 10 Kings of Hell, please bless me. Open the gift bag. Congratulations on receiving the reward. Title, Hammer God. Immediately, the system name column changed. Name, Cohen Wang, aka, Hammer God. Wardvake, what the hell is this? The price of follow-up reading has dropped sharply in the past 2 days. Please follow up and don't keep the book. It's a joke that half of the 3 rounds of recommendations were withdrawn. In addition, thank you all for the recommendation tickets and monthly tickets! End of this chapter. Chapter 63 Stark is holding it in. Chapter 63 Stark is holding it in. Cohen communicated with the system and understood the meaning of this title. Hammer God. Gain the love and recognition of all hammers and hammer-like weapons. The case is solved. The tricky system must have a grudge against Thor. But the key point is, before Odin died, the title of Hammer God was useful because of a hammer! The 4-star gift package is just like the 3-star gift package. It's not hard enough. It has been decided. From today on, we will study 1,000 ways to kill Nick Fury. The first diamond level gift package must reach 5 stars. After making this decision, he jumped from the top of the mountain and flew away into the distance like a wild goose. The wind blows across my cheeks, the warmth of the sun shines on my back, and the feeling of flying is great. The vast landscape is in full view. A feeling of arrogance that looked down upon the world suddenly arose in my heart. Just because I was thousands of miles high in the sky while you were standing on the yellow mud. Russia, an old and dilapidated apartment. Cohen dressed in a suit solemnly just to meet his future chief and deputy chief scientists. Dong dong. As he knocked, dust shed from the peeling paint on the wooden door. After a long while, no one responded. He was patient and knocked again. Finally, a drunk, unshaven man opened the door, stared at him with vulture-like eyes, and asked bluntly, "Who are you looking for?" Cohen smiled and said, "Hello, my name is Cohen Wang. I don't buy insurance. Get out of here." The big man slammed the door shut. The smile on Cohen's face froze, and he looked down at his suit. Damn, have you ever seen such a handsome salesman? Can't you see that I have the aura of a billionaire soon? He adjusted his breathing and said, bang. The door was opened again. The big man saw that it was him and said fiercely, go away, go knock on the door opposite, don't make me say it for the third time. He looked impatient, and when he was about to close the door, Cohen grabbed it and said, Ivan Vanko, if you dare to close my door again, I will shove your head into my ass. The big man was shocked and angry, his face was full of ferocity, and he was about to take action, but suddenly he saw something wrong. The other person's hand was deeply embedded in the wooden door of his house! Hiss. How is this possible? This is old ash wood. Although it looks old, it is hard! Seeing that the reckless man was intimidated, Cohen slowly withdrew his hand. Young man, don't be so impatient. Who told you that I sell insurance? Say you have the stereotype of being old-fashioned and mean! I might also be a real estate seller. He walked straight in while telling a joke. The apartment was very small, with clutter piled up in the living room, a small TV, and a camp bed on which slept a sick old man with gray hair. Who are you? You are trespassing. Please get out immediately or I will call the police. Shut up. Cohen glared at him, and the vicious aura of the devil incarnate flashed across his face. Ivan felt a chill in his heart and inexplicably dared not say anything more. The old man was awakened and Cohen sat down beside the bed. Anton Vank, are you dead or not? If you are not dead, say something. Compared to his son, the father is much calmer. Who are you and what are you going to do? Cohen Wang, I have come all the way here to give you a chance. What chance? A chance to exact revenge on Howard Stark. Anton Vank raised his eyebrows, laughed, and suddenly started coughing. He is cough, dead. Cohen also laughed. There is an old saying in the East, a son pays his father's debts. Anton Vanko stopped laughing and looked Cohen carefully from head to toe. Who are you? Cohen smiled slightly and stretched out his finger. A red light flashed, and his index finger became red and bright, with a tiny arc of electricity surrounding it. I am King Cohen. Anton looked horrified, took a deep breath, his face turned sad, and shook his head. I don't have much time. If you wish, take my son away. He is a genius beyond my reach. He shouldn't live such a poor and hopeless life. Please treat him well. Cohen looked back at the big man with a changed face and said with a smile, you are just sick, right? Don't worry, as long as the god of death hasn't taken you away, I can save you. I want you, Ivan, too. In the cave, Tony Stark was exhausted and his face was covered in dirt. In recent days, this group of terrorists seemed extremely panicked, as if something had gone wrong. They were like red-eyed rabbits, urging him to speed up the manufacturing process. After several days and nights of inhuman torture, he finally completed the iron armor. In a corner that the camera couldn't see, Ethan helped and put on the armor step by step. There were footsteps outside the door. Ethan, Stark, where are you? Don't hide from the cameras. The two did not answer. The guard couldn't bear it anymore, opened the iron lock and tried to open the door. Boom! The acetylene tank placed behind the door exploded instantly. After putting on the armor, Ethan tapped the computer and started the power program. The progress bar starts to grow slowly. Outside, the footsteps and shouts were getting closer, but the progress bar was growing slowly. Ethan pushed his glasses up. Not enough time, we need time. He looked back at Stark and said, I'll go buy you some time. Stark was stunned and quickly shouted, follow the plan, don't mess around, but Ethan had already picked up the rifle on the ground and rushed out. Ethan. Stark was extremely anxious. Ethan was not only his savior, but also had stayed with him in the cave for so long and helped him escape. He definitely didn't want anything to happen to him. The progress bar on the computer is slowly crawling. Almost there. Several terrorists rushed in, not noticing the armor in the dark. Stark felt a shock all over his body, and the power program came online. He was full of anger. He rushed out with one step, swinging left and right, and knocked several terrorists away. He had a bad feeling in his heart. The fact that these terrorists could come in meant that Ethan furious. The despair when being attacked, the fear when waking up, the humiliation of being coerced, and the pain of seeing companions leave, all came to my mind. Kill. 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 These sons of his body trembled as he took big steps forward, but suddenly a familiar voice sounded in his ears. Hi Stark, long time no see. Stark was confused, and the figure that he often dreamed of in the past few days appeared in front of him. The other party waved his hand and said, Stark, you are rescued. Don't worry, I have killed all these terrorists. You are free. Looking at the smiling face in front of him, Stark felt a lump of blood stuck in his chest. It feels like when you have been on a business trip for more than 10 days, and when you get home, you take a shower, take medicine, feel high, and your penis is hard, and suddenly your girlfriend's relatives come over. If you don't come early, you won't come late. It comes just before one reaches the peak. The anger in my chest feels like it's about to explode. Can't be dispersed! After half an hour. Ethan's face was absurd. Stark actually abused you perverted. It's okay, just an average pervert. Cohen waved his hand. Seriously speaking, he just cut the bodies into pieces and arranged them neatly before burning them. I understand that he has been under a lot of pressure recently. Cohen had a smile on his face, but he suddenly thought of Juju. When she gave him the hallucinogen, did she tell him about any side effects? Tusk forgot. When Stark returns home, introduce him to a psychiatrist. End of this chapter. Chapter 64. Stark. I didn't -039 do anything. Chapter 64. Stark. I didn't do anything. The raging fire engulfed the entire cave. Stark burned all the corpses and the weapons and ammunition produced by Stark Industries outside the cave. In the brilliant flames, he felt that he had completed a purification and sublimation. Looking at his expression, Cohen knew that Stark Industries' weapons division could not escape the fate of being closed down. Next comes the moment to test your operation. Stark returns, the stock price soars, and he announces the closure of the weapons division, causing the stock to plummet. There are only a few hours in this period. The three of them left in an old convertible jeep. As for Stark's armor, it was inconvenient to carry, so they burned it after use. The sun was scorching and the car drove through the yellow sand, raising a cloud of dust. Stark didn't react until his face was covered with sand. You're going to drive this broken jeep to save Mevin if there is no attack helicopter. There must be a Hummer with air conditioning, right? Cohen shook his head and sighed. Stark, you don't know in the cave that the world outside has changed dramatically. The US military has long since stopped looking for you. If it weren't for me, even if you escaped from the cave, you would probably die in the desert or go by desert. Stark was shocked. What happened? Judgment! Stark, your American military has gone through a brutal trial. A health bar appeared on the god, and his godhood was shattered. The surrounding enemies, the Avengers, and the hungry hyenas in the darkness are all targeting it. What do you mean? A few nights ago, divine punishment came down from heaven, and 2 large US military bases were reduced to ruins, and 3,000 soldiers died. The scene was horrific. It was hell on earth. Cohen smacked his lips and said, There's a rumor that after Commander-in-Chief Guanhai learned about this, he whipped him with a click sound. After watching the live video, Vice President Deng shuddered all over and his crotch got wet. The grapevine also said that the 5-star building called that day a day of mourning, and they have begun to consider withdrawing troops from Afghanistan. The American troops here have become cowards, like young wives, never leaving the house, and all their food and drink expenses are delivered by the National Army. Stark was confused. It's only been a few days since I entered here, and the hegemony of the United States has already declined. Who on earth could destroy 2 major US military bases at the same time? Are the Russians going crazy, or is it the Eastern superpower that has taken action? Cohen glanced at Stark, who looked solemn, through the rear-view mirror and shook his head. It is said that he is a devil who is 8 feet tall, has a leopard head and round eyes, a hideous face, and a voice like thunder. It's really strange to me. What on earth did the American soldiers do that made the devil unable to bear it? Tut-tut. Stark didn't know what to say for a moment. A few hours later, they passed by the Bugle base and saw the ruins on the ground, and he suddenly woke up from his dream. Could this be the beginning of America's decline? After arriving at the nearby Kandahar International Airport, Stark called Pepper Potts, chartered a passenger plane, and set off immediately. The news immediately spread back to New York. Stark Industries stock, which had been falling continuously, began to soar as if it had been injected with chicken blood. Everyone knows that the return of this genius means that Stark Industries will never fail easily. Yesterday, Cohen instructed David to sell all the stocks he was shorting and made a fortune. He invested $120 million and turned it into $540 million! With a wave of Cohen's hand, all the money was converted into Stark Industries stock. On the plane back to New York, he instructed David to sell the stocks after they had risen in price, preparing to short them again. Today may be a day of wailing for American stock investors, but it is Cohen's day of prosperity. The plane slowly landed at Kennedy Airport, and the moment the door opened, "Why are there so many fully armed agents surrounding us?" Cohen's eyes widened. What happened? MIX boast a body was found in the backyard of a church. Wait, Sitwell, Shield is here too. Stark, I'm a CIA agent. I suspect you are the real murderer of the day of mourning. Please cooperate with us. Stark, I'm an FBI agent. I suspect you are the real murderer on the day of mourning. Please cooperate with us. Stark, I'm an agent from the Department of Homeland Security. I suspect you are the real murderer of the day of mourning. Please cooperate with us. Stark, I'm an agent of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. I suspect it has a significant connection with the day of mourning. Please cooperate with us. Between the major departments, there was a young policeman in police uniform. Seeing these agents looking so aggressive, he couldn't help but shrink his head. But he quickly gathered his courage. Stark, I'm a police officer from the New York Police Department. Please cooperate with my investigation. Looking at the large group of people in front of me who are fully armed and clearly divided. Cohen was stunned. What? Stark was stunned. Ethan was also stunned. What? Cohen came close to Stark. A personal suggestion: cooperating with the New York police might be a good choice. Stark turned his head and glared at him, looking at everyone in front of him angrily. Dear agents and police, I want to know why you arrested me. Why am I related to the day of mourning? A group of agents looked at each other, and finally Sitwell stepped forward to explain. Mr. Stark, according to the information we have so far, the Bugle Air Force Base was attacked by a Jericho missile! There were 3 missiles in total for this experiment. 1 was used in the experiment, leaving 2. According to military records, the accident happened to you before control of the 2 missiles could be transferred to the military. That means you are the only one who can launch those 2 missiles. Stark was furious. You said I had an accident. I was locked up in a cave by a group of terrorists, and they are bullying me one by one. None of you bastard agents can save me! Now that I've finally come back, there's a problem with the things the military is keeping, and you're here to find fault with me again. Is there any justice in the world? Mr. Stark, the Jericho missile was a product you personally built. It is hard for us to imagine that anyone could launch a missile without your consent or authorization. Stark's face was horrifying, and he waved his fists. I'm naturally smart. If you can't crack my stuff, it just means you're trash, not that I'm a criminal. He turned around and pointed at Ethan. I was imprisoned for so many days, all with him. Ethan is my witness. After he finished speaking, the agents looked at each other, and suddenly someone said, Mr. Ethan, we suspect you are related to the day of mourning. Please cooperate with our investigation. FK. Stark's face flushed, and he was so excited that he seemed about to explode. You shameless clowns and bastards are all scum and parasites raised by taxpayers! I want to sue you. I want to pay 1 billion. I want you to die. Thank you all for your recommendations, monthly tickets, and rewards. End of this chapter. Chapter 65. Thunder plus armor. Is there any success? Chapter 65. Thunder plus armor. Is there any success? A group of agents looked at each other in bewilderment after being scolded. If there weren't so many people present and they didn't care about their own reputations, they would definitely resort to some means. I was still feeling sad in the ruins of Bugle base for so long, but I didn't expect you to come up with such a big one! Millie has fallen. You are the cancer of this country. Okay, Stark, stop swearing. A high-pitched voice came. The man who caught Cohen's eye walked over in his iconic black windbreaker, and all the agents made way for him. Black Sauce Egg held a stack of documents in his hand. The National Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau has already investigated it clearly. The 2 Jericho missiles were not launched through normal procedures. There was a very inconspicuous loophole in the control system, and the real culprit used this loophole to launch the missile. I believe that this Spectre-like vulnerability was not left intentionally. Is that right, Mr. Stark? Stark blushed, gritted his teeth, and said word by word, "Of course not." Black Salted Egg turned to look at the agents and raised the document in his hand. Everyone, here is not only relevant evidence of the vulnerability of the Jericho missile control system. There is also evidence that Stark has been trapped all along, which you can confirm for yourselves. I think there is no need for you to arrest him now. The agents looked at each other. Some began to check documents, and some contacted their superiors to report. Eventually, everyone evacuated. Black Salted Egg walked up to Stark with a gloomy face and said, "Tony Stark, I want to talk to you." Before he could finish his words, Stark fell on his back. Black Boiled Egg, Sitwell, and others were suddenly in a panic. Cohen's eyes widened. Damn, is Stark angry to death? Pepper, who was finally allowed to contact Stark, ran over with tears in her eyes, and the doctor who had been prepared nearby also hurried over. Fortunately, after examination, it was found that he had just fainted from anger. It was probably because Stark had been overworked and not eating well recently, and his physical condition was too weak. Tisk, poor thing! A seriously injured patient rushed back home from afar, only to be surrounded and questioned. When had Playboy Stark ever suffered such a crime? In a panic, Cohen grabbed Ethan and said, "If you don't want to be locked up by S.H.I.E.L.D., come with me." He was already frightened by the agent just now and nodded quickly. Cohen took advantage of the chaos to get to the wall, grabbed Ethan and jumped over, and the 2 of them quietly came to the outside of the airport. "Take a taxi and leave." "Ethan, I heard that your family left in the war." Ethan looked gloomy. "Yes." Cohen nodded. "I have a medical company that plans to develop new drugs to benefit mankind. If you are willing, I invite you to join my company, and I guarantee that your results will save thousands of people. I can also provide a sum of money to your hometown to benefit the people there." Ethan was stunned for a moment. Cohen continued, "In addition, I promise you that I will use my power to end the war in Afghanistan as soon as possible." Ethan was shocked. "Do you have the power to influence the top leaders of the U.S. government?" Cohen smiled slightly. "Well, sort of. What I do does have an impact on them. As long as the war in my hometown ends as soon as possible, I'm willing to do anything." "You are a great man, my friend." Cohen took Ethan across the Hudson River to New Jersey, which is separated from New York by a river. Alexandra has a large secret manor here, which has now been transformed into Cohen's scientific research base. Dr. Cullen is currently working here with vampire blood. After introducing Dr. Eason to her, Cohen came next door. Anton and Ivan were wearing white research suits, staring at drawings and photos on the computer. It was the drawings and photos of Mark I and the arc reactor that Cohen obtained from the cave. Seeing him coming, Anton quickly stood up and sighed. "I'm not as good as Tony Stark. Although Howard and I invented the arc together, I never expected to be able to make such improvements. He actually completed it in a cave. It's amazing. Tusk. Ivan held a toothpick in his mouth and said nonchalantly, he just has a lot of money, so he can always get the latest developments and information in the scientific community first. Father, you have been away from the scientific community for decades, so it is normal that you cannot keep up with the times. Anton was furious and pointed at Ivan, rebellious son, spit out the toothpick in your mouth and respect the boss. Cohen waved his hands indifferently. He didn't care. This little problem was not a problem at all. What he cared about was how much help this father and son could bring to him. So, do you understand the design drawings of the arc reactor and this suit of armor? Anton and Ivan smiled at each other, and Anton shrugged. As long as you need it, boss, we can make it for you anytime! But we don't recommend you to wear such a crude armor. I can design a new one for you. It can fly, hide, dive, and do anything. Very good. Cohen nodded. He had previously thought that Anton and his son together might be equivalent to 0.5 Stark. Looking at it now, maybe it can reach 0.6 to 0.8. He took a deep breath and said solemnly, now I will give you two a task. First, use the arc reactor to create a super bomb for me. The more powerful the better. At the very least, it surpasses nuclear bombs and is comparable to hydrogen bombs. Anton and Ivan looked at each other in surprise. Ivan put away his nonchalant attitude, swallowed his saliva, and asked cautiously, boss, are you planning to destroy the world who provoked you to this extent? Cohen smiled slightly. Don't worry, I don't plan to blow up the Earth. You will understand slowly in the future. The two looked at each other and nodded. Anton asked, what is the second mission? Armor. I need the most powerful armor in the world. Anton nodded in understanding. I understand, boss. Don't worry, Ivan and I will do our best to make the most powerful armor for you, and guarantee that you will know, you don't understand. Cohen interrupted. What? Anton and Ivan both looked at him blankly. Cohen raised the corner of his mouth, and his body suddenly flew into the air, and a silver lightning like a swimming dragon suddenly appeared. I need you to tailor a thunder armor for me. His exclamation, looking at the boss floating in the air and surrounded by thunder. Anton and his son felt a little weak in the knees. Cohen retracted his magical powers, looked at the dazed father and son, and snapped his fingers to wake them up. This suit of armor needs to provide me with a huge amount of electrical energy, so one arc reactor is not enough! I want 6. It must be tall and mighty, yet flexible and agile. It must be able to fly at supersonic speeds, dive into the deep sea, and preferably also operate in space. Let me remind you, pay attention to the problem of icing at high altitudes. Of course, the most important thing is that it must have sufficient defensive and offensive capabilities. Amid Cohen's excited description, Anton and his son accepted the task with bitter faces. After some discussion, Ivan raised a question. The first and biggest problem in making such a powerful armor is materials. Cohen had anticipated this. Before, he first thought of vibranium, but that thing was too expensive. Impossible. Rob, I don't know where Wakanda is yet. The African continent is so large that it is difficult to find metal, so he turned his attention to another metal, adamantium. If he remembered correctly, there was still a small pool left at Stryker's base. Although it is not enough to build a full adamantium armor, as long as the key parts and key positions are protected, the defense of the entire armor can be qualitatively improved. Of course, he had also asked David to find the vibranium merchant named Ulysses Claw. As long as we know where Wakanda is, we can grab a few tons of vibranium. He raised a smile and waved to Anton and his son. You guys design the armor first, and I'll get the materials. Cohen was about to turn around and leave when he suddenly slapped his head and said, I almost forgot. This suit of armor needs to be able to use lightning to create a Faraday electromagnetic cage. This is very important. End of this chapter. Chapter 66. A sudden visitor to Xavier Academy. Chapter 66. A sudden visitor to Xavier Academy. Xavier College, Westchester County, New York. Cohen stood at the gate. He has long known that there are mutants in this world, and even knows that Wolverine Logan is currently here. David helped him find some hidden information. A few years ago, there was a United Nations summit held on Ellis Island in New York, with heads of state present. During the meeting, someone attempted to attack the heads of state from the Statue of Liberty, not far from Ellis Island. Of course, the group was unsuccessful. After reading the information, Cohen immediately realized that the incident should be the plot in the first X-Men movie. I hadn't come to visit before because I was afraid of Charles. What the hell is psychic ability? It's so unfair. He can read, copy, modify, or even delete your memory without your knowledge. It's so scary! But now that Cohen has obtained soul defense, he is not afraid anymore. Although soul and mind are not the same thing, they are strongly connected. The mind is to the soul what the heart is to the body. The soul wraps around the mind. It is impossible to harm someone's mind before breaking through his soul's defense. In addition, he has a spiritual attribute of up to 280 points, so he can at least protect himself in front of the professor. This is enough. Because even if he could only protect himself for a few seconds, it would be enough for him to kill the professor dozens of times, and no one in the entire academy could stop him. Before he could knock on the door, someone had already greeted him. Storm, Aurora. The other person looked at him curiously, but still politely invited him in. Hello, the professor asked me to invite you in. At the entrance of the castle, Cohen happened to see Wolverine smoking a cigar, and he took the initiative to greet him. Hi, Logan, how is the progress with Jane recently? Support you. As soon as these words came out, Storm and Wolverine's expressions changed immediately. Wolverine coughed. Jane already has a boyfriend, and before they break up, I won't go. And shook his finger. A strong man with a beautiful woman, you can do it, and it's not shameful to charge for love. Besides, isn't Jane quite willing to have an affair with you? Hiss. Wolverine glanced at Storm, pulled Cohen 2 steps to the side, and lowered his voice. Don't talk nonsense. Jane is a good girl. You can't slander her innocence. Cohen shrugged. I'm just telling the truth. Maybe she has a crush on you too. When it comes to love, there is no such thing as first come first served. It is only destined by fate. I think you are the one. Wolverine had a face full of question marks, and he suddenly remembered. Who are you? Do I know you? Why am I talking to you about this? At this time, Phoenix and Cyclops also walked out. Perhaps the professor sensed that he stayed here for a while and asked them to invite him again. Jane smiled and said, Sir, the professor invites you and it is good. Cohen smiled and nodded, then looked at Scott and Jane and sighed. What a talented man and beautiful woman, a perfect match. When you get married someday, remember to invite me. After saying that, he walked into the castle. Behind him, there were 4 people, all confused. Without needing anyone to lead him, Cohen found the bald professor's office. As soon as I entered, I saw him with a wry smile on his face. Sir, please don't cause any more trouble for the 3 of them. I'm already having a headache with the relationship between them. Cohen shrugged. I'm sorry, I'm a straightforward person and I couldn't help myself. Don't worry, I will persuade him. There are so many women in the world. How can Scott hang himself on a tree? Charles couldn't help but roll his eyes. Cohen suddenly laughed. It's just a joke, don't mind it. Charles took a deep breath and said, This gentleman seems to know us very well. Can I ask why you are here? Cohen raised his eyebrows and said, Since you asked sincerely, I will tell you with great compassion. Of course, I came here to prevent the world from being destroyed, to maintain world peace, and to promote love and glory. Quiet. Charles didn't say anything. Cohen turned his head and looked outside the door. 4 heads were stretched out their heads. They had just come in. He smiled. Can you hear me outside the door? Come in. The 4 hesitated for a moment, then came in, led by Wolverine. Charles ignored them. He looked at the man in front of him whose mind he couldn't read, with a frown on his face. How come he looks like both a mysterious master and a madman with confusing speech? It seems that the professor doesn't believe me. Cohen looked at the 4 X-Men and said, "Do you believe this?" Shake your head in unison. Cohen smiled slightly. He came here not only for the adamantium, but also to try to conquer the X-Men. Now he was sure that he had established a very deep impression in their hearts. Whether it is good or bad depends on how it performs next. He looked at the 4 people. Scott, did you know that Wolverine once saved your Oro? If you are looking forward to love, why don't you try the African continent? Jane Grey, is it starting to become difficult to control the Phoenix Force? No, Mr. James Hollett, have you got your past back? These few words made them all explode. Cyclops, who has always been arrogant and looked down on Wolverine, frowned and asked, "What, I was saved by Logan?" "Nonsense, that's impossible. How could a careless guy like him possibly wait?" What is Jane unable to control? Storm's pupils shrank slightly. "Africa, where is my true love?" Jane was stunned. "I can't control the Phoenix Force." "No, wait, what is the Phoenix Force?" Wolverine reacted the most. With a clang, he ejected his steel claws. His blood instantly surged, and he roared, "You know my past, tell me." "Calm." Charles's loud shout, which was powered by his psychic power, instantly woke up the 4 people. He looked serious and his eyes were threatening. "Sir, tell me why you know so much and why you came here." Cohen was not angry. He held out his palm and smiled. "Don't worry. We are the same kind of people." As he finished speaking, a series of tiny flashes flickered between his palms. Then the entire palm became hot and shiny, and some tiny electric arcs made a sizzling sound at the fingertips. This scene left them all stunned. Although they didn't understand what the abilities of Flash and Dragon Breath were, they knew that the man in front of them possessed at least 3 abilities. No, if you add the telepathic shielding of the professor, that's 4. The professor also widened his eyes in surprise. "Who are you?" Cohen did not answer directly, but asked, "Do you believe that God exists?" "Bullshit," Wolverine said in a muffled voice. Cohen laughed it off. "Not only God, but also Odin, Thor, and Loki in Norse mythology, and Zeus in Greek mythology, they all exist in reality. Also, vampires, werewolves, demons, hell, death, monsters, they all exist." Charles asked calmly, "What exactly do you want to say?" "This world is far more complicated than you think." Cohen's expression turned serious. "Recently, you may have heard about the vampire incident, the terrible earthquake in Manhattan, and the Morning Day incident in Afghanistan. This world is becoming more and more dangerous. On Earth, there are more and more supercriminals. The world is becoming more and more turbulent, and various disasters are happening one after another. In the universe, a purple potato man is carrying out a plan to kill half of all life in the universe. Our planet will become the intersection of many events, controlled by destiny." Cohen looked them straight in the eye. "The world is in danger, and now is the time for righteous people to stand up and save it. As a representative of justice, I have taken the lead, and now I invite you to join me. Let's contribute a little to our world." End of this chapter. Chapter 67 Wolverine. I will write 7 miserable words with blood. Chapter 67 Wolverine. I will write 7 tragic words with blood. You asked me who I was, and I can tell you now. I am destined to save this world. I am the world's last conscience and the strongest line of defense. I, the man of destiny. These words made everyone open their mouths wide. Cohen's face was calm, but he kept sighing in his heart. He didn't mean to lie to them. In the early stages of starting a business, it was difficult to get started, and there was no other choice but to resort to this last resort. In order to realize his ideal of unifying the world for eternity, he could only reluctantly sacrifice his excellent quality of honesty and trustworthiness. So sad. He didn't ask the people in front of him to believe him completely, because he himself didn't quite believe it. but as long as they believe it half or even 2 or 3 points, it is enough. Charles shook his head slowly. I really find it hard to believe what you said. Cyclops agreed. I strongly doubt that you are deceiving us. Jane frowned. But why does he know so much about us? Storm and Wolverine also looked confused. Cohen smiled and shook his head. Scott, why would I lie to you? I am richer than you, I am stronger than you, and I am more handsome than you. What do you have that is worthy of my covetousness? He shook his head and sighed. Well, I came here with a righteous heart. If you don't believe me, forget it. He stood up and wanted to leave, but Wolverine said anxiously, Don't go, I believe you! Professor. I know he is a good man at first sight. Let him stay. Cohen looked heartbroken. Logan, since they don't believe me, what's the point of me staying? It is difficult to be a human being, and it is even harder to be a good person. This cold world does not allow for a single trace of true love. All right. Charles had a conflicted expression on his face. I can't believe what you said right away, so please prove it to us. How do you want to prove it? That's something you have to consider. Cohen stroked his chin and said, Well, as a man of destiny, I can predict the future. Can this be proven? Charles and others' faces changed. Predicting the future? It's just a limited prediction, and the future is not unchangeable. It's not as powerful as you think. Aurora asked curiously, So, now, what future do you see? The president may be assassinated, New York will face another disaster, and the world will once again officially welcome superheroes. Charles's expression condensed, his eyes flickered. When disaster strikes, will you take action? Cohen smiled and said, Of course. What about you? Are you willing to be my right-hand man and save the world together? Charles was silent for a moment. If disaster really strikes, you will see us appear. Perfect. Cohen applauded. I believe this will be a scene that goes down in history! Just think about it. After you save the world in front of everyone, the gap between mutants and humans will be greatly reduced. All mutants will be grateful for your contribution to them. This is something that Eric cannot achieve no matter how many schools he opens, how many students he teaches, or how many times he stops him. Charles seemed happy at first, but in the second half, a blush appeared on his face. Don't say that, Professor. He has done his best to protect mutants, Wolverine said with a frown, then changed the subject. Tell me about me. What is my past like? Didn't the professor tell you? Wolverine said urgently. My brain was badly injured and the professor could only see some fragments. He asked me to find it myself. I don't even know how to find it. Cohen hesitated for a moment and said, Okay, then I'll help you. You were born in Canada in 1860. Your family was rich but not harmonious. When you were 15 years old, your gardener suddenly killed your father. At that moment, your potential was stimulated, bone claws popped out from between your fingers, and you killed the gardener. But before the gardener died, he said that he was your biological father. Your mother hates you, so the gardener's son, your half-brother, took you away from home and wandered around. Wolverine was stunned. I killed my father. Others were also surprised. Your family is really messy. Logan is a centenarian? Wait, I have a brother. Logan's eyes widened. He died of old age. No, he has the same mutant ability as you, so living for 100 or 200 years is not a problem. Do you know where he is? A glimmer of hope flashed in Wolverine's eyes. Why look for him? Cohen asked. Wolverine was startled. Why can you accept that he and others conspired against you? Can you accept this alloy skeleton that almost killed you? You underwent the experiment to take revenge on him. Can you accept that he is a murderous bad guy? Wolverine froze in place. Losing your memory is painful, Logan. But regaining your memory doesn't mean you'll be happy. Professor Charles also spoke out to stop it. Okay, Logan, why don't we stop here for now and let him tell the rest of the story later? No. Wolverine suddenly stretched out his steel claws and slashed the table in front of him fiercely. Snap! The corner of the table fell off. I killed my own father, my mother hates me, my brother and others are trying to harm me. What else do I have to be afraid of? I want to know now, tell me. Logan. Cohen patted him on the shoulder and said, You have been searching for your memory for so many years. Are you still missing these few days? Adjust your mood. I will tell you when the time comes. Yeah, Logan, don't let anger control your will. Jane came over and held Logan's face amid the sound of Scott's teeth crunching. You are our companion. I won't allow you to treat yourself like this. Wait until you calm down before looking for the answer. We will all stand with you. The angry Wolverine finally calmed down. Cyclops next to him raised his hand and placed it on his glasses, then put it down and raised it again. To avoid getting covered in blood, Cohen left quickly. During this visit, although Charles and others were still skeptical of him, the door had already been pried open, and they could not resist Cohen's offensive from then on. As long as he holds onto the great cause of saving the world, he will be invincible among the superhero group! On the way back, he saw live news on his mobile phone, which was from Jameson, the old man from the Daily Bugle. Next to him was a photo of a blurry figure rising into the sky. Jameson continued his report in his exaggerated tone. Dear viewers, let's take a look at a very shocking photo. It is reported that a guy appeared in Afghanistan who killed more than a dozen terrorists and even a tank by himself! This guy is extremely mysterious, but the Daily Bugle has called in a mystery expert. After repeated study of this photo, we confirmed that this is a guy wearing iron armor! It's incredible. Can you imagine? When you are in trouble, a hero wearing iron clothes suddenly falls from the sky. Damn. Human flesh wrapped in iron sheets! This is simply a canned human. Haha. Jameson suppressed his laughter and said, Dear viewers, I have great respect for this hero who saved the civilians, and I have no prejudice against him. It's just that when I see him, I think of canned pork. Haha, sorry! That's all for today's report. End of this chapter. Chapter 68 Stark. Daily Bugle, you die. Chapter 68 Stark. Daily Bugle, you die. Stark woke up quickly after entering the hospital that day. Without wasting a moment, he held a press conference in the hospital and announced the immediate closure of Stark Industries' weapons department. Many reporters present at the scene had only one thought in their minds. This guy is not physically broken, but his brain is broken, right? But Stark's orders were carried out. The weapons department was really shut down, and Stark Industries' stock price plummeted, even more sharply than when Stark disappeared. But after being discharged from the hospital, Stark turned a deaf ear to the outside world and focused on the mecha. With his intelligence and talent, he quickly developed the Mark II and Mark III armors. Yesterday, after hearing that there were still a large number of weapons produced by Stark Industries in Afghanistan, he rushed there without stopping early in the morning. On the way back, they were discovered by US radar and were directly hit by 2 missiles. Although I managed to escape, my head is still buzzing. But he never expected that as soon as he turned on the TV, Jameson from the Daily Bugle would give him the title of Human Can Man. Fake. Has this little guy always been so mean? I'm a hero who saves lives, yet you call me canned human meat. Such a handsome Iron Man suit, such bright gold and red colors, you call me a can? Blind. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. An idea popped into his mind. Why not just buy the Daily Bugle and fire the boss? No, he can't be fired. I should ask him to praise me on TV every day. Praising me for being the Can Man. Hiss, I should give it a good name, Armor Man, Iron Man. Billionaire Man. Doesn't it sound good? For some reason, he suddenly thought of the name Iron Man. Hiss, why do I feel like I've lost something? Cohen just returned to Emma Church and David told him that he had found where Frank was. He paused for a moment, lost in thought. Ever since his last trip to the Assassin's Brotherhood, he always felt that there must be something about the creed in the system that he hadn't figured out. This dead system doesn't even have any instructions for use, so he has to explore a lot of things on his own. However, since he received the reward of spreading Creed last time, he decided to continue doing this. Since I have already taken the name of the Avengers, then alias, Avengers, real name, Cult of Slaughter Leader, Cohen, Deputy Leader, Frank exclamation official members, Wesley, Blade, pending members, Deadpool, X-Men. The reason why Frank could become the deputy leader was that he could influence all members slowly by instilling the creed of killing and redemption exclamation. Immediately Cohen set out to look for his deputy leader of the cult. In a small restaurant, Frank, who had just returned from working at a construction site, was enjoying a simple dinner. Suddenly a man in black sat opposite him. It was Cohen. "Isn't dinner too simple? Do you have the energy to fight?" Cohen said with a smile, raising his hand. "Waiter, 8 steaks, medium rare." "Who are you?" Frank's face was full of alarm. Cohen glanced at the spoon in his hand and laughed. "Why, you want to kill someone with a spoon?" He pointed to the old pickup truck parked outside and said, "Don't worry, I have prepared pistols, rifles, submachine guns, sniper rifles and grenades for you in the car. Let's have a good time tonight." Frank was even more confused. Cohen pulled out his cell phone and played a video of the Cerberus operation that Frank had carried out a few years ago. Until the video was over, Frank stared at the phone and asked, "How did you get this video? How about we make a deal?" Frank gritted his teeth. "What do you want to do? I'll help you get revenge, and you'll do things for me." Frank was stunned. Cohen shook his head and said, "You have indeed killed the mercenaries who killed your wife and children. But do you know why they do this? Do you want to know who is the mastermind behind them and why you are involved in this conspiracy?" Frank's hand holding the spoon tensed up, and a trace of blood welled up in his eyes. "What do you mean?" "Tonight, I will take you to revenge and uncover all the conspiracies behind this. After tonight, you help me, save the world." At this time, the waiter came up with 8 plates of steak. Cohen unceremoniously picked up the knife and fork and ate heartily. "You can think slowly before I'm full. If you decide to trust me, I'll give you 2 steaks. It's exciting tonight, save some energy." Frank was silent. After a while, he suddenly picked up the knife and fork and started eating. The mastermind behind the CIA drug trafficking case was William Rollins, director of the CIA's Secret Operations Department. He had a collaborator, Navy Captain Bennett, who was in charge of matters related to military remains in Afghanistan. Only by colluding together could they complete the task of disemboweling the soldiers' bodies, stuffing them with drugs, and shipping them back to the United States. However, according to the intelligence Cohen eavesdropped on in Afghanistan, this drug smuggling activity was an unspeakable secret within the CIA. Anyway, everyone showed their talents. The unscrupulous ones used corpses, while the better ones used military ammunition and supplies for cover. It was not just sent to the United States. All of America's allies had accepted this gift from the CIA. In addition, they often produce and sell their own products and help brother units. As the director of the Confidential Operations Department, Rollins' whereabouts are secretive and difficult to control, but Navy Captain Bennett is much easier to find. Taking advantage of the night, Frank attacked the house where Bennett was alone. Crackling, gunshots rang out. Bennett was protected by soldiers, and after a fierce fight and the loss of most of his men, he finally escaped. But he was terrified. Just now, Frank had put the muzzle of his gun against his forehead, forcing him to tell the truth about the operation in Afghanistan. Fortunately, the soldiers protecting him rushed in and saved his life. He rolled and crawled onto the bulletproof car and hurriedly shouted to the driver, Go quickly, find Rollins. Only he can deal with this guy." Bennett didn't realize that high in the night sky, there was a pure black drone watching him. Cohen and Frank switched to an old garbage truck, which was inconspicuous on the streets at night. "I told you, this guy is a coward. He will definitely run away to find William Rollins, who is behind this." Frank glanced at the tracking route on his phone and said, "How are you going to deal with Rollins, the head of the Confidential Operations Department? He must have a lot of guards." At this point he had been told the whole truth of the matter. Cohen laughed and said, "Just charge in, there's no need for so many tricks. Remember when I asked you to help me save the world? Who do you think I want you to be saved from?" Frank frowned slightly. "Is it a terrorist, an ambitious politician, or a mad scientist?" "Ha ha ha," Cohen laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Frank asked unhappily. Cohen smiled and said seriously, "In fact, the enemies you are going to face are alien fleets, out-of-control artificial intelligence legions, Nordic gods who want to rule the Earth, and the terrifying Emperor who is wreaking havoc on the entire galaxy." "Gudu." Frank swallowed and said, "Can I survive?" End of this chapter. Chapter 69, Confused. If I kill you, the money will be mine too. Chapter 69, Confused. If I kill you, the money will be mine too. Cohen and Frank crouched in the grass. In front of them was a country house, brightly lit and with its doors closed. With Cohen's eagle eyes, it was easy to see many bodyguards in suits patrolling in the windows of the buildings in the courtyard. The location is hidden and heavily guarded. The panicked Bennett went in and never came out. It seems that this is Roland's lair. Next to him, Frank was wearing a bulletproof vest and holding 2 guns. Cohen nodded slightly. "Are you ready?" "Anytime." "Okay, stand up straight." "Ah." Frank was confused, but still stood up obediently. Cohen bent down, put one hand under his armpit and the other on his knee, and then he lifted him up. Frank's eyes widened and he gasped, "What are you doing?" "Do not move." Before he finished speaking, he flew into the air, flashed into the yard, and stopped at the door of the building. Frank, who was filled with wind, hadn't reacted yet. Cohen frowned and said, "Why don't you come down?" Frank blushed. "Can you fly? How else can we fight the alien monsters and steel robots?" As Cohen spoke, he stepped forward and kicked out. Then, 2 large, solid, and thick wooden doors flew backwards! A shrill alarm sounded immediately. Cohen turned around and said, "Look, Rollins is in the office on the west side of the 3rd floor. Go up there and kill him. How about you?" "I'll take the shortest way." After Cohen finished speaking, his figure suddenly flashed and flew upwards. "Fake." Frank's face turned green as he listened to the footsteps coming from all directions. Cohen flew to the window of Roland's office. Inside, an old bald man with petal-like scars at the corners of his eyes was looking out and happened to meet his eyes, his face full of shock. Cohen smiled at him and punched him! Boom. Even the solid bulletproof glass was shattered by this blow! The entire window flew into the house and hit the ground, creating a mess. The old bald man hurriedly stepped back to dodge, but still got scratched on his arm, and blood flowed instantly. Cohen flew into the house like Superman, and before he landed, bang bang, several bullets flew towards him. He didn't even bother to dodge. The bullet hit him and was bounced away like hitting steel. He moved his feet and turned into a residual shadow. With a bang, the 2 bodyguards who fired the guns were directly embedded in the wall and could not be removed even by pulling them away. Boom. Cohen picked up the gun on the ground and killed Bennett, who was huddled in the corner. Now, he and Rollins were the only ones left in the room. The old bald man covered his injured arm, his face full of horror. Don't kill me. I have millions in my safe, and gold bars, all for you." Cohen walked over to his desk, brushed the glass off his chair, and sat down comfortably. The study door was closed tightly, and fierce gunfire was heard outside. He played with the gun in his hand. "Stupid. I will kill you now and the money will be mine. I have another overseas account with 30 million in it. I'll give it all to you. Let me go." Cohen shook his head. 30 million can't buy my conscience." 50 million. Cohen looked at him without comment. 70 million. "This is all the money I have." "I do not believe." Rollins gritted his teeth and said nothing. Cohen pointed to the door and said, "You'd better hurry up. If that guy outside breaks in, I won't be able to save your life." Rollins was startled. "Aren't you guys in the same group?" "Yes. But the difference is that I can be bribed, but he can't." Roland's face changed as the gunshots outside were getting closer. He sadly discovered that he had no other way to save his life except to gamble on the reputation of the man in front of him. $80 million. How are you going to keep me alive? 100 million. The guy outside the door can't fly, but I can. We can go through the window. 90 million. Cohen pushed the computer on the table over and said, "Your life cannot be bargained for. 100 million. Transfer the money." Roland stood there, his eyes struggling. He had a hunch that the man in front of him might be deceiving him, but even if there was only a slight chance of survival, he still wanted to take the chance. Cohen looked at him and shrugged. "Time is running out. What good is it to have a lot of money in your account if you die?" Roland's eyes flashed, and at this moment, several bullets pierced the wooden door of the study, and wood chips flew everywhere. He finally nodded. "Okay, I hope you keep your promise." After some operations, Cohen's overseas account indeed received a transfer of $100 million. Boom! There was a crashing sound outside the study. Roland's was panicked. "Quick, take me away." Cohen grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. "Get ready, you're going to leave through the window." With a strong throw, Roland's flew out. Boom! Cohen shrugged. "I said we could go through the window, but I didn't say go together." Boom! Frank burst through the wooden door, bloodied and panting. After looking around, I heard screams from downstairs and walked to the window. "Why did you throw him down?" Cohen moved and flew out of the window. "He said he wanted to leave, so I helped him." Frank gritted his teeth and said, "Buy is coming up." What happened next was simple. Frank interrogated Rollins and confirmed the truthfulness of what Cohen said. Then, Cohen shot him dead with one shot, and the progress of the gold-level prey reached 4/5. Unfortunately, since the first 3 prey died in a single way and with low emotions, it is difficult for this gift pack to reach 5 stars. Otherwise, Cohen would have to do something serious. After completing his revenge, Frank voluntarily becomes a member of the Avengers. Cohen bought both manors next to his scientific research base and used them as the Avengers base. The 3 manors are connected together and cover a large area. With a little renovation, they can be used for both living and training. Obadiah sat in the car, feeling happier than ever before. The gloomy mood of the past few days was swept away. He couldn't help but open the briefcase beside him, and the arc reactor emitted a light blue light. Gorgeous. This tiny thing can actually drive steel armor and allow people to fly in the sky. It's incredible. Tony Stark is indeed the smartest weapons inventor in the world. Before that, he had thought about it for 7 days and 7 nights, but he couldn't figure out how Tony managed to come back alive from a group of vicious terrorists. Until the news appeared on TV that the weapons he secretly sold to terrorists were all destroyed by the Inhumane man. Looking at the blurry photo in the Daily Bugle, he suddenly found a round light on the chest of the Inhumane man. It looked familiar! In an instant, he thought of the arc reactor in Tony's chest. He immediately found the cave surveillance video that the 10 Rings gang had sent him earlier. After studying these videos, he was surprised to find that Tony had been hammering away in the cave for so many days not to make missiles, but to make armor! Originally, he was worried that Tony had begun to suspect him and his crimes would be exposed at any time. But at this moment, he had a perfect idea. Ever since the Morning Day incident in Afghanistan broke out, although the US government has appeared calm on the surface, it has actually been extremely frightened inside. They urgently need to regain their lost confidence and the fear of their enemies. If he could obtain the technology to manufacture armor and sell it to the US government, there would be no doubt that they would regain their confidence. Then, selling weapons to terrorists and harming Stark will not be a problem at all. You can even become the most distinguished guest of the White House and the Pentagon! Unfortunately, he didn't expect that the group of the world's most powerful scientists under his command could not defeat Tony Stark alone. It would be fine if the armor was big and bulky. but the small arc reactor that Tony could build in the cave took half a month for them to build and they couldn't even make one. To make matters worse, Pepper had just discovered the evidence of his crime. There was no other choice. He had to borrow a ready-made arc reactor from Stark's chest. Don't blame me, Tony. It's all for the good of the company. After all, you don't want Stark Industries to go bankrupt. Oh no, it should be Stanny Industries. End of this chapter. Chapter 70. Please read on. Father, help me. Chapter 70. Please read on. Father, help me. Stark lay stiffly on the sofa, veins all over his body. Just now, Obadiah, whom he regarded as his adoptive father, took away the arc reactor from his chest with his own hands. He felt a sharp pain in his chest, as if the remaining bomb fragments were drilling into his heart. My consciousness started to become blurry, and I seemed to be about to fall. But he held on. He couldn't die like this. Pepper was in danger! He suddenly remembered the arc reactor in the basement, and he got motivation. He tried to stand up by using his hands to support himself on the sofa, and as he did so, he just happened to touch the phone he had used to talk to Pepper, and was slightly stunned. It was a wonderful night, and Cohen treated himself to a big meal. David was sitting opposite him, his mouth already drooling with food. Cohen picked up a piece of braised pork ribs and was about to put it in his mouth when the phone next to him rang. He ignored it and continued eating. David looked up from his bowl of preserved egg and lean meat porridge. The phone is ringing. I know. Looks like it belongs to Tony Stark. How did you know? I set a special ringtone, and I knew it was him the moment I heard it. Cohen put down his chopsticks helplessly. This guy, I have told him 800 times, me, and he still calls all day long. I will scold him to death. He picked up the phone, and before he could even say the greetings he had prepared for Zahn, he heard a faint cry for help. Father, help me, Stark. When Cohen arrived, Stark was unconscious in the basement. Cohen woke him up, and he grabbed Cohen's arm. Didn't I ask you to save Pepper? Why are you here? Cohen rolled his eyes and said, what a coincidence. I called her and she insisted that I come to rescue you first. I originally wanted to tell her not to run around with those useless agents and to stay where she was and wait for us, but she seemed to have entered a place with electromagnetic disturbance and there was no signal. I was worried that you would die here without anyone to save you, so I had to come here first. There is a device that blocks the signal at Stark Factory. It must be Obadiah who did it. We have to save her. Cohen nodded. In fact, he had reminded Stark of Obadiah before, but he didn't take it to heart. There's nothing we can do about that. Some beatings hurt so much that you don't know how painful they are unless they hit your body. Stark said as he put on his Iron Man suit, if Pepper is really in danger later, I'll hold Obadiah back and you go save her. No problem. Stark put on his armor and was about to fly, but suddenly paused. How are you going? He had not seen Cohen fly. Cohen rolled his eyes and said, how about I ride on your neck and you carry me? Impossible. Do you still want to stop Obadiah and save Pepper? Iron Man gritted his teeth. If it weren't for Pepper. In the end, he soared into the sky with Cohen on his back. However, Stark was flying sideways, and Cohen thought the posture of carrying him on his back was too ambiguous, so he simply sat on his waist with his legs clamped together. Stark endured it. He could only comfort himself in his heart that as long as he flew fast, no one would see him. Speed up, it would be best if the wind could break the guy on your back. Feeling the wind whistling in his ears, Cohen couldn't help but sigh. This guy is flying really fast. In comparison, my speed of 150 kilometers per hour is no different from that of an old car. Stark Industries factory. After Obadiah installed the arc reactor, he couldn't wait to put on his armor. Feeling the feedback from all parts of his body, he felt an unprecedented sense of power surge in his heart. It's like transcending from mortals and becoming some kind of higher-level existence. But he was interrupted. Stark's girlfriend Pepper broke in with a few men in black suits. He was a little surprised. Didn't these guys know that they were making armor? How dare you barge in here unarmed? Are you trying to kill yourself? But this does not affect his powerful punches. With one sprint, several people were knocked over. This is not a movie. How can a mortal body escape the pursuit of the armor? The only one who could resist was an agent with a receding hairline and a mechanical prosthesis for his right hand. He remembered his name, Calson. However, he only left a few claw marks on his armor before being slapped away. Finally, at the entrance of the building, looking at the trembling Pepper in front of him, he wanted to punch her. But out of the corner of his eye he caught a glimpse of a figure approaching quickly. That thing was flying across the sky, like a monster. How come it had 2 bodies and 4 legs? He was a little nervous until he got closer. Then he could see clearly that the horse was actually the human man carrying a person. Stark, you are really playing tricks! Stark felt ashamed when he was seen by Obadiah and Pepper. He shook his body. Come down quickly. Cohen nodded. But before going down, he leaned over and whispered in his ear, remember not to engage in an aerial battle with him. You don't have enough energy. It's enough. Tesk, you don't know the kindness of others. Cohen made a heroic landing and landed in front of Pepper. And Stark is still accelerating, crashing into Obadiah's ironmonger! The 2 rolled over and flew directly to the main road next to them. Cohen looked at Pepper. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Pepper shook her head. No, thank you for saving Tony, Mr. Cohen. Well, this place is too dangerous. I'll take you to a safe place. It is good. As soon as Pepper nodded, Cohen picked her up horizontally. She panicked for a moment. Mr. Cohen, what are you doing? The battle area between Stark and Obadiah is very large, and this place is far away from the safe zone. It will take you a long time to walk there. After all, you don't want Stark to fight alone for a long time. Ah, is that it? What if? Pepper's face turned red and she didn't know what to say. Cohen's heart moved, and the 2 of them suddenly flew into the air. Pepper screamed and hugged Cohen tightly. She hid her head in Cohen's arms and asked in surprise, You can actually fly? Stark can fly, too. Hasn't he taken you flying before? No. The wind was strong around them, and Cohen was afraid that she couldn't hear clearly, so he leaned close to her ear, and his warm breath licked her ear cavity. Does Miss Pepper have a boyfriend? Little Chili was so stimulated that her whole body tensed up, and her voice was muffled. Why do you ask this? Maybe we could get some coffee sometime. Pepper shuddered. By the time she realized what was happening, Cohen had already put her on the ground. I'm going to help. If you want some coffee, call me anytime. On the other side, Stark was hit so hard that he saw stars and was dizzy. The armor was running low on energy, and with Obadiah rampant, he could only protect passers-by while fighting him. Fortunately, he found an opportunity and rushed into the sky with Iron Overlord in his arms. At this time, Cohen just arrived. Looking at the 2 figures rising into the sky, he could only shake his head helplessly. He couldn't catch up at all! However, these 2 people ran fast and fell fast. Boom! Boom! With 2 loud bangs, 2 big holes were smashed into the ground. As Stark stood up from the ground with difficulty, he saw a huge figure rushing towards him. Just as he was about to fire the palm cannon, he discovered that he was running low on energy. Fake! Boom! He was knocked to the ground by a punch. Obadiah laughed. Stark, I really want to thank you for inventing such a great weapon for me. It makes me feel awesome, especially the feeling of smashing flesh with these hands. He raised his fist and hit Stark mercilessly. Boom! An afterimage flashed past. There was a feeling in my arm of hitting something hard and not being able to move forward an inch. Obadiah was surprised to find that there was a human in front of him who took his punch with ease! Ward fake. He wanted to pull his arm back, but found that the armor's transmission system made a clicking sound. Can't pull it! The next moment, a small fist rapidly expanded in his field of vision. End of this chapter. Chapter 71 Crazy Old Man. Chapter 71 Crazy Old Man. Bang, bang, bang. Left hook, right hook, uppercut exclamation. Cohen used a 9-hit combo, directly removing half of Obadiah's armor. Broken parts were scattered all over the ground, and even the middle hatch was pulled off, leaving Obadiah's head exposed in the air. Stark looked at this scene and opened his mouth in surprise. The last time I saw this guy, he wasn't this fierce. If I had known this would happen, I should have saved Pepper and he would hold the line exclamation. Obadiah was beaten to a state of disarray and was extremely angry. He never thought that there would be such a ferocious person in this world who could dismantle a mecha with his bare hands. This world is crazier than he imagined. He gritted his teeth and said, "Since that's the case, let's see who is crazier!" Exclamation. Remember where this is? A military factory of Stark Industries! Exclamation. I have plenty of weapons! Exclamation. He gave an order to the armor system and a signal came out. Immediately, the automatic roof of a workshop not far away suddenly opened, and then 1, 2, 3 bright flames broke out. 3 slender projectiles shot up into the sky. Cohen's eagle eyes saw it clearly, so he couldn't help but gasp. He didn't care about Obadiah at all and flashed in front of Stark. "You big banana, the weapons department is shut down and there are 3 Jericho missiles here. Are you crazy?" Stark stared blankly at the 3 missiles rising at high speed in the sky, his face looking extremely ugly. "Asshole son of a, he has been in charge of the factory. I didn't know. Where did the missile go?" Stark hesitated. Guanhai had a bad feeling in his heart. Sure enough, after the 3 missiles rushed into the sky, their tail flames retracted, they turned around and launched a surprise attack! Exclamation. Tender girl. He immediately yelled at Stark. "You even designed a U-turn function for the missile. Are you crazy?" Stark is in tears. "A car can only be sold at a high price if it has many functions!" Exclamation. Who would have thought that this function would actually come in handy one day! Exclamation. Coincide. Seeing the missile's wide coverage area, he might not be able to escape the fate of being bombed. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in my heart. "The task is coming." With a quick glance, he made a decision instantly. Picking up Stark, he pointed at the huge arc test reactor. "Overload it. I need a lot of electricity." After saying that, Stark was thrown straight over. Then he flashed to Obadiah's side, where his armor's propulsion function was damaged and he was trying hard to keep his balance and fly away. The didn energy burst out instantly, doubling its power. With one punch, the entire armor flew backwards, no longer able to bear the weight, and was almost torn into several parts. Obadiah lay among the parts, dead or alive. Then Cohen's leg muscles exploded, and he leaped up into the air. The Jericho missiles have reached a lower altitude. The projectiles automatically popped open, and cluster bombs scattered across the sky like flowers from heaven. If these bombs had successfully landed and exploded, dozens of surrounding blocks would probably have been destroyed. The number of casualties is at least hundreds of thousands. Many people within the bombing range have already discovered this. They stared blankly at the starry sky that suddenly appeared in the night sky and fell into a daze. Some ignorant children looked at the scene in amazement and asked their parents, "Dad, are those fireworks?" Pepper Potts was standing on the side of the road and saw this scene. As an employee of Stark Corporation, she quickly recognized what it was. Watching the Jericho missile falling at high speed, her mind went blank. New York is finished. Not only the people of New York witnessed this amazing sight, but also 3 U.S. fighter jets in the sky. They were flying thousands of meters in the air, watching the Jericho missiles filling the sky with bombs like decoy bombs. They had never seen anything like it. One of them murmured, "God, what should we do?" Someone responded, "We can't do anything." Air Force Command Room. With the help of Global Hawk and reconnaissance satellites, Colonel Roddy and a group of officers witnessed this scene. The only words they could say were, notify the White House, notify the Pentagon, notify the National Guard, notify the New York Police Department, notify all the forces that can be put into the rescue. Cohen hovered above the arc reactor, watching the rain of bullets getting closer and closer. He was not panicked at all and even opened the system to confirm. Completely different from before, this time the system gave him a multiple-choice question. Temporary mission. Mission 1. Pre-rescue. Task 2. Eliminate the demons afterwards. Mission 1 content. A large number of innocent people are in danger of death. Save them. Night of the God of Punishment. Mission 2. Obadiah Stane actually intended to murder millions of New Yorkers. If he succeeds, he will be the only massacre of tens of thousands or massacre of hundreds of thousands on the planet. Kill him. Night of Punishment. Task 1 time limit, indefinite. Task 2 time limit, indefinite. Mission 1 reward, title, Million Savior. Spread your face and name, and you will become a hero throughout New York. Tens of millions of people thank you, millions of people respect you, hundreds of thousands of people worship you, and tens of thousands of people believe in you. Note, you could easily win the New York mayoral race if you wanted to. Mission 2 reward, 180,000 dead souls. This is the number of people who died in this attack, and their souls will be your reward. Note, if you want, go to hell. With the help of these dead souls, you will instantly become a powerful lord of hell. After just a moment's thought, Cohen gave up the second task. Of course, it was not because he couldn't bear to part with the long black legs and the white snow-white body of the mortal world, nor was it because he looked down on the power of the Lord of Hell. It's because he had planned to bomb hell a long time ago. Aren't Anton and his son helping him develop a super bomb? This system has increasingly high requirements. How can he get the gift packs without a few massacres? According to the system's nature of classifying all vampires as prey, Cohen is very sure that the devils in hell all started at the silver level! Can a super bomb kill tens of thousands of people? Wouldn't that gift package be amazing? Going to hell and becoming the Lord under this premise. Can you beat Lucifer? Can you beat Mephisto? Go to hell and be a punching bag. Forget it, I'll just be a corrupt and decadent mayor. So he slowly opened his arms, pointing one hand to the sky and the other to the ground. A bolt of lightning shot out from the hand pointing to the ground and instantly connected to Stark's overloaded reactor. In an instant, it was like a bolt from the blue. The huge electrical energy generated by the arc reactor seemed to have found an outlet, and hundreds of silver-white lightning bolts clung to Cohen's body. In an instant, the outer clothes turned into ashes, but fortunately the vibranium vest and vibranium shorts were still there. His body continued to fly upwards. Then, under the desperate gaze of everyone, a savior with silver dragons wrapped around his body, like a god, appeared. End of this chapter. Chapter 72 10,000 Saviors. Chapter 72 Millions of Saviors. Cohen's energy has reached its limit. He even felt his skin beginning to crack. Come on. In an instant, countless silver dragons soared into the sky, facing the falling cluster bombs, like two armies rushing towards each other, fiercely engaging each other. Boom! 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 The violent explosion instantly spread out with Cohen as the center. The entire night sky of New York was illuminated red by the violent explosion. No matter where they were, everyone couldn't help but walk out the door or stand at the window to look up at this shocking scene. Cohen was like a connector, harnessing the electrical energy generated by the arc reactor and filling the entire sky. All cluster bombs could not escape his interception. The people of New York witnessed this unparalleled fireworks display. Pepper Potts saw the figure in the lightning. She recognized it and her heart couldn't help but skip a beat. Below Cohen, although Stark was looking at the magnificent scene in amazement, he paid more attention to Cohen. He was shocked at how powerful Cohen was. Suddenly, a thought that had previously entered his mind but was immediately driven away magnified in his heart. After returning from Afghanistan, he had looked up clues about the Day of Mourning. He had conducted a thorough investigation into the Death Devil. What impressed him most was that it only appeared during the time he was trapped in the cave. What's even more coincidental is that if the time of its appearance is narrowed down further, it roughly coincides with the time when Cohen arrived in Afghanistan. Is there any intricate connection between these two? Looking at Cohen, who saved half of New York in midair, he fell into deep thought. Cohen had no idea what Stark was thinking, but he felt that he had completed his mission perfectly, except it seemed that his lightning accidentally struck a fighter plane. There's nothing I can do. He got too close to me and now I don't know where he is. After the cluster bombs exploded all over the sky, a rain of hot shrapnel fell from the sky. Although it caused a lot of trouble, it did not cause any casualties. After the dazzling explosion, flames in the sky disappeared. Cohen slowly descended to the ground. From the beginning to now, he has found that many people are filming him with their mobile phones, cameras and camcorders. I can't hide my appearance anymore. But this is not a big problem. He had this consideration ever since he planned to form the Avengers. The timid, mysterious man is not suitable to lead an organization to save the world. That will only lead to more doubts. The title of Million Saviors can be said to have added an invisible shield for him. Any organization or individual who wants to touch him must consider this. Coupled with his own extraordinary strength, it's a double insurance. In addition, this title will bring him unparalleled appeal. This time, won't the X-Men just jump into the bowl themselves? By the way, didn't the professor say last time that they would stand up when a disaster occurs? Where is this guy, Professor? Professor, you are not playing tricks on me, are you? This time, in addition to receiving the title of Million Savior, Cohen also received a gold-level gift package. Obadiah was knocked flying by him and was seriously injured, and died soon after. As a gold-level prey, he successfully completed Cohen's gold gift package, progress from 5 to 7. Cohen opened it casually. The star rating of the gift package was not high and his luck was not very good either, so he only obtained 32 attribute points. Add to the strength in one breath. At this time, when he landed on the ground, he found that Stark was looking at him seriously. What happened to you? Fine. It was strange, but Cohen didn't care. Instead, he smiled and asked Stark, "Do you want a nickname?" "What?" "How about I pass on the name Iron Man to you from now on?" Iron Man, chewing on this name, felt an inexplicable sense of joy rising in his heart. This surprised him a little. What's going on? Don't I always dislike second-hand things? From now on, you are Iron Man Roman too, and you don't have to be called Can Man anymore. Stark was slightly angry. I've never been called the Can Man. Cohen shrugged. It's what they said on TV. I didn't teach them that. Old guy must have received the money. Cohen blinked. Hey, don't say anything without evidence. I tell you, he can sue you for defamation at any time. He patted Stark on the shoulder and said, "If you want to use this name, remember to give me money." "Okay, it's over. I'm leaving now." Stark did not answer. He looked at the empty night sky and muttered to himself, "Is everything over?" The next day, at the beach villa, Stark changed several channels, but every TV station was broadcasting the same interview. In that small church, Cohen, dressed in priest's clothes, stood under the cross, like the Holy Spirit. The small hall couldn't hold so many reporters, and many more gathered outside the church, even spreading to the main street. Not only reporters, but also many people holding flowers, shouted out the name they had just learned, Cohen. This wasn't a press conference, it was more like a rock star meet and greet. Under the spotlight, Cohen looked calm and composed and spoke freely. "My mother said that I was extraordinary the day I was born, and I knew I would do great things when I was 2 years old. I took the initiative to give the big pear to my kindergarten classmates when I was 3 years old. I broke a big vat and saved next to Stark. Pepper, who was passing by, was suddenly attracted by the scene on TV and couldn't help but stop. A hint of curiosity flashed in her eyes. "Mr. Cohen, is it true? It must be fake." Stark said angrily, He is just telling stories to the public! It just happens that these reporters and audiences like to listen and are willing to believe it. This guy is indeed a qualified priest. On TV, Cohen was making his final summary. Ladies and gentlemen, my experience in the first half of my life has taught me that the value of life lies in constantly surpassing oneself. When people are alive, they should not pursue the length of life, but the quality of life. I am just one of you who happened to be favored by God. As an ordinary person with extraordinary powers, I always stand with you. I will continue to carry out the difficult task of protecting all living beings, maintaining peace, and saving the world. No matter who it is or what happens, this will never change. Woohoo tilde, you are my God. Father, I'm a nun and I want to give birth to a baby for you. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a burst of warm cheers from all around the church and even throughout New York. SHIELD. Headquarters. Nick Fury, Coulson, Hill, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and others gathered together and watched the interview. Fury clenched his fists. He had seen this man on TV before, on the plane that took Stark back to New York. But when Stark fainted and the scene became a mess, he disappeared and he didn't care. Who would have thought? He pounded the table angrily. Who the hell is this guy? Coulson looked painful. He looked at Hawkeye and slowly stepped out. Chief, this is Father Cohen. I know his name. No, Hawkeye and I have dealt with him before. Fury was stunned for a moment, then immediately responded. When you were in Hell's Kitchen? Coulson nodded. At that time, I thought he was just an ordinary person. I investigated him overnight, and now I am very sure that he must have a very close connection with Devilface and Iron Man. In fact, he is one of them. Hawkeye nodded and added, or two of them. Nick Fury's eyes turned cold. No wonder I hate him so much, just like I hate that bad guy Iron Man. He thought for a moment and turned to Hill. According to your assessment, how powerful is he? As soon as Fury sticks out his butt, everyone knows what he is going to do. Agent Hill quickly shook his head. Very strong. There are still many things we don't know about him, and we can't formulate a corresponding capture plan. Plus, he's now the hero who saved New York. This is definitely not a good time to attack him. Fury nodded and ordered, Coulson, take Sitwell and Rumlow with you and keep a close eye on him. Collect all his criminal evidence and secrets. I have a feeling that this guy will bring disaster to the world. In the White House, President Chocolate is also watching Cohen on TV. He looked haggard and his brows were furrowed. These days are not easy. But as he watched the people on TV, a thought came to his mind. Can this guy beat that devil? Can the soft America be made strong again? Still, as he had several photos in his hand, including Obadiah's Ironmonger and Stark's Mark III. These armors look good too, and are more manageable. He was just thinking when gunshots were suddenly heard outside. Several agents rushed in. President, there is an assassin, leave. Unfortunately, it's too late. He watched as a monster with a tail and blue skin suddenly appeared in the office. None of the agents who rushed in to protect him stood up to him and were all beaten to a pulp. Guanhai was filled with despair. The President of the United States is going to die in the line of duty again? End of this chapter. Chapter 73 Remarks on the Launch. Chapter 73 Remarks on the Launch. First order requested. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who has seen this, and for your recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, rewards, etc. It may be my problem. The data of this book is really not very good in recent days. It's currently in the 3rd round of recommendations, and it probably won't make the 4th round. It's also been removed from the new book list, and the number of collections dropped a lot yesterday. The follow-up reading has also been declining. For this reason, it was put on the shelves earlier than I expected. Thanks to the editor for his support. But don't worry, I have always taken this book very seriously. Summarize the reasons and keep changing. There are many more interesting stories I want to write to you later. There will be 2 chapters at 6 o'clock and 2 more chapters around 12 o'clock. Please be the first to place an order. The life or death of this book depends on you, dear readers. P.S. I won't be a eunuch till the end of this chapter. Chapter 74 Wolverine, Fury. Chapter 74 Wolverine, Fury. Breaking news, live reporting from Washington. The Oval Office of the White House was attacked, and the specific situation is still being followed up. What is certain at present is that the President and Vice President are safe and sound. Sources indicate that the attack may have been carried out by one or more mutants. Professor Charles and the X-Men were stunned when they saw the news on TV. Cohen had indeed told them the news before, that the President might be assassinated. But they never expected that the assassin was actually a mutant. Well, a new storm has emerged. The President must want to kill all mutants, right? After some brainstorming, they immediately locked the suspect on their old rival, Magneto. Even though he is in jail, the professor used a brainwave enhancer to discover the assassin's traces and quickly assigned the tasks. The professor and Cyclops go to the super prison where Magneto is imprisoned, while Phoenix and Storm go to arrest the assassin. Wolverine Logan stays at Xavier Institute. At this point, Wolverine objected, "Why don't we look for the big hero?" His words immediately made several people who were tacitly understanding each other pause. Wolverine's eyes swept over them. "You don't believe him? Even though he saved millions of people because he's not a mutant, or because he's an outsider?" Cyclops said coldly, "We mutants never discriminate against weak humans, nor do we look down on any outsiders whose origins we don't know." "Logan, can't you feel it?" Storm frowned slightly. "Logan, do you think Cohen didn't know that the assassin was a mutant, or didn't tell us?" Wolverine crossed his arms and said, "I used to be more suspicious than you, thinking that anyone who approached me wanted to harm me. But now I have come to my senses. Professor, you couldn't see through him before, so you didn't believe him. But what about no is greater than any of us! Not everyone you need to trust needs to be seen through by you, Professor. This is an unprecedented crisis." Charles pursed his lips for a long time and took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll try to believe him. Great." Wolverine's voice was filled with excitement. "You guys go quickly. I'll call him to come and help protect the academy." "Don't worry. With the two of us here, no one can touch a brick or a tile of Xavier." Seeing that he had exposed his purpose, Cyclops rolled his eyes fiercely. Wolverine, indeed, has a very small brain capacity. After Cohen received a call from Wolverine, he enthusiastically accepted his invitation. He had seen the news on TV a long time ago and had been waiting for this call. He could guess that the bald professor probably wouldn't believe him so quickly. But it doesn't matter. The plan I'm about to carry out doesn't require his trust. Soon, Cohen arrived at Xavier Institute, and Wolverine welcomed him in warmly. The professor, Phoenix Girl, and others have already set off. Cohen knew this. After seeing the news that the president had been assassinated, although he did not come, he had already let the drone controlled by David wait at the entrance of the college. He has only one goal, which is to find where Magneto is. The best chance to kill Magneto is now. As a famous seamaker in the Marvel Universe, at the current point in time, his strength is definitely one of the strongest humans. Although he had previously asked Anton and his son to equip his armor with the ability to create a Faraday cage. But as we all know, anti-Roman 20 armor will usually be dismantled by Roman 20 in the end. After killing Lao Wan, he can completely inherit the identity of Seen Man. Apart from anything else, last night's New York fireworks show was enough to make it difficult for later comers to surpass it for years to come. As soon as he sat down in the conference room, Wolverine brought a large box of beer and sat down opposite him, looking at him with burning eyes. Cohen shrugged helplessly. "Do you have to know now?" Wolverine blinked. "Why not?" "Okay." Cohen gathered his thoughts. "You and your brother have wandered the world together and fought in many wars. Later, you joined a team formed by a man named Stryker. You did a lot for him. Later you got tired of this life and retired to become a lumberjack. Then your brother killed your lover. Cohen's calm narration. Wolverine has long forgotten about drinking. His eyes were bloodshot, veins were bulging, and 6 cold silver steel claws stretched out unconsciously. Heart-wrenching scenes began to flash through my mind. Kayla, the woman he loved so much, gradually reappeared in his memory. The way she looks in the sunset, the way she caresses her face, and the look of him lying in a pool of blood! He said in a hoarse voice. So, I volunteered to have this steel skeleton implanted in order to avenge my brother. Cohen sighed and shook his head. The so-called voluntary participation is just Stryker's deception. He just wants you to participate in the experiment. Your lover Kara is not dead. She and your brother are just playing a trick with you. Wolverine's angry eyes were suddenly confused. His memory had not fully recovered. Everyone is acting with me just for he suddenly raised his hand, stared at the steel claw, and smiled bitterly. So, my ability has brought me these. Cohen was silent, looking at the golden wolf in front of him. He was a little worried because the important part had not been mentioned yet. Wolverine is already showing signs of going insane. It turns out that this is all a conspiracy. Well, that means she is not dead, right Vic? Then I don't need to feel sad for her. I just replaced my bones. What's the big deal? It's good that she's not dead, right? Wolverine's chest heaved violently, his eyes were red and terrifying, and he stared at Cohen like a wolf. But Cohen said nothing and had no expression. He instantly became furious, stood up suddenly, and swung his steel claws, instantly smashing the wooden table between the two of them into pieces. He roared at Cohen, "Am I right? Answer me." "No, Logan, that's not right." Wolverine's roar woke up many people. Footsteps were heard in the corridor, and Rogue, Iceman, Fireman, and others appeared at the door. But Wolverine and Cohen ignored them. Cohen narrated calmly, "Stryker captured Kayla's sister and threatened her to get close to you. But she really fell in love with you. Together you saved the other mutants at Stryker base. In the end she chose to stay and face the enemy with you. And what happened to her? Why can't I remember her? Where is she?" Wolverine asked anxiously. "Dead. Stryker killed her. I also shot you in the head with a special bullet, so you lost your memory. The last time you saw her, she was in a pool of blood right in front of you. What a pity, you have forgotten her." After Cohen finished speaking, there was silence. But in the silence, turbulent emotions are brewing. End of this chapter. Chapter 75, Really Inhumane. Chapter 75, Really Inhumane. 2 more chapters later. Damn it, Stryker. Wolverine let out a desperate cry. "I'm going to kill that son of I want him dead." He was like a mad wolf, his silver claws dancing in the air, cutting the air, as if he was going to devour someone the next moment. Little Naughty, Iceman, and others were watching with trepidation. They felt that Cohen seemed to have released a ferocious beast. "Logan, calm down," Cohen shouted. "When Kayla was dying, she didn't want you to become a killing machine. Don't let down the woman who loves you deeply." Hearing these words, Wolverine's mind flashed through long-forgotten scenes, and he instantly lost all his strength. He slowly retracted his steel claws and sat down on the ground dejectedly. Cohen sighed, waved everyone away, and closed the door. At this time, Jing was the only one who could comfort him. He sent everyone back to sleep. "Stryker is going to attack here soon. If you don't sleep now, you won't have the strength to escape." Little Naughty sneaked up to Cohen and said, "Hey, Logan, are you okay? You shouldn't tell him all these things at once." Cohen waved his hand. "Don't worry, Logan won't be defeated. If it doesn't work, wait for Jane to come back and let her give Logan a spiritual massage, and the invincible Wolverine will be resurrected with full health." The naughty boy rolled his eyes speechlessly. If she really told him, how could Teacher Cyclops let her go? It was late at night, and everyone else was sleeping. Wolverine was alone and sad, while Cohen was bored watching late-night shows on TV. The phone vibrated and opened, revealing a photo. This is an aerial view of the secret prison where Magneto is located, a triangular building located on a small island. According to the estimated time, Professor Charles may have been infected by now. Stryker ambushed him in prison. Cohen did not tell anyone about the next plot direction and had no plans to change it. Because what he wants is not just the adamantium and the allegiance of some X-Men. In the Marvel world, mutants have powerful abilities. It can even be said that if all the mutants united, all the other superheroes combined might not be able to defeat them. In the current universe, the two big guys, Magneto and Professor Charles, are too powerful. There is no need to say much about Magneto. As for the Professor, he has a brainwave enhancer that can even be used to destroy all of humanity! Coincidentally, these two are the leaders of the mutants, one good and one evil. Magneto cannot be kept, and neither can the brainwave enhancer. As for the Professor, Cohen is not affected by his telepathy, so this is something to consider. If he can control it, he will control it. If he can't, he doesn't mind sending him to reunite with his old friends. As I was thinking, I suddenly heard a rustling sound coming from outside. It seems that Stryker has arrived. Good show. Start. Wolverine, who was hiding in the room and feeling grieved, instinctively sensed a dangerous aura. He looked out the window and saw a shadowy figure. Then, a high-pitched cry woke everyone up. As soon as Wolverine ran out of the room, he saw Cohen looking at him seriously. Be careful, the enemy is coming in. Go protect the children. There was chaos in the building, and Wolverine gathered all the children who had not been caught and retreated to the entrance of the secret passage together. He didn't know who was attacking, nor did he know if he could defeat them, but no matter what, the secret passage was a good gathering point. You can retreat and advance and turn back. On the other side, Cohen was neither hurried nor slow. When he met the invading army, he raised his hand and a flash of lightning appeared. He killed most of the attacking troops, and his killing attracted Stryker's attention. Listening to the panicked report in the communication headset, he glanced around and set his eyes on the captured children. Inside the house, Wolverine was leading people into the secret passage one by one, and when he turned around he saw Cohen. Why, even you can't stop me? He was a little surprised. Cohen shook his head. It's not that I can't stop it, it's that the enemy is too despicable. Soon, Wolverine understood why Cohen retreated. Because these soldiers took children as hostages. Cohen and Wolverine faced a dozen soldiers armed with guns and holding hostages. At this time, a middle-aged man with gray hair and a slightly plump figure walked over. He wore glasses and had a faint smile on his face. He looked at Cohen first and said, "Famous Mr. Cohen, I never thought you would be here!" I just watched your interview this morning. Cohen had a blank expression on his face. I didn't expect that the American soldiers would actually attack a children's school. Ha, this is not an ordinary college. Stryker smiled and said, "Mr. Cohen, have you made up your mind to get involved with these mutants?" Cohen shook his head. "I am not mixing with mutants, but standing with my conscience." Stryker laughed and clapped his hands. "It seems that you are really a good priest like on TV. Then I can't help it." He turned his gaze to Wolverine, with a hint of surprise and nostalgia in his eyes. "Logan, long time no see!" Look, I am old, but you are still in your prime. Ever since Stryker showed up, Wolverine has been in a state of memory. Hearing him calling his name, Wolverine suddenly reacted and gritted his teeth. "Stryker." Yang tilde the steel claws popped out, and he was about to pounce, but suddenly a rapidly spreading ice wall appeared in front of him, quickly separating him and Stryker. Behind them, Rugrats and Iceman yelled at them, "Go!" But looking at the figure on Bing's side, Wolverine was reluctant to leave. Cohen pulled him and said, "Come on, you'll have a chance to catch up with him next time." Wolverine gritted his teeth, turned and walked towards the secret passage. As Cohen followed, he pulled out a small disc that flashed blue light from his pocket and casually stuffed it into the crack in the wall. This is the latest achievement of Anton and his son in developing the super bomb. Although it is far from the standard of a nuclear bomb, it should not be a problem to destroy a building. At the exit of the secret passage, a large group of children gathered together in fear. They were disheveled and some were even sobbing quietly. "Where are we going?" a little girl asked tremblingly. Wolverine wanted to answer, but when the words came to his lips, he didn't know what to say. Cohen stepped forward and said, "Go to New Jersey. I have a base there that is big enough for you to stay." When everyone was far away, Cohen secretly pressed the button of the bomb detonator. Soon, a vibration came from behind, followed by an explosion. Everyone looked back and saw a huge ball of fire rising in the air, and their faces changed drastically. Iceman yelled, "It's okay that these bastards attacked us, but they actually blew up the school. It's so inhumane. How can we come back in the future?" A smile appeared on Cohen's lips. "What? You live in my place and now you want to come back? Wouldn't I be at a big loss then?" "Humph, let's play a development game, my cattle and horses!" Exclamation on the other side. Stryker and several mutant children had just walked out of the building when they were blown away by a shockwave. He got up from the ground with blood all over his face. Looking at the collapsed building behind him, he cursed, "These mutants are so inhumane. They are willing to destroy even their own homes. I have to say, there are few normal people among this group of people!" Exclamation, "But even this won't stop me!" Exclamation. He reached out and grabbed the captain of another squad who was also confused. "What I want is underground. This explosion can't destroy it. Dig down hard." "Yes, sir." End of this chapter. Chapter 76 Diamond Gift Pack. Chapter 76 Diamond Gift Pack. Cohen brought everyone to the base, and after settling them down, he quietly left, dressed in black and taking some equipment. Soon, he arrived at the restricted Area 14 where Magneto was, a secret prison located on a small island off the coast of New York. With his strength, it won't be a problem for him to force his way in. But he is now a famous hero in New York, and some of the abilities he has already demonstrated are best used less. Fortunately, Anton and his son, while studying bombs and armor, prepared a lot of good equipment for him. For example, the black clothes and black mask he was wearing was a very deceptive optical invisibility cloak. Like a chameleon, it can change with the environment. Although it is not completely invisible, it is definitely difficult to detect if you don't look carefully. After sneaking in, he did not immediately go to the area where Magneto was located, which was the most heavily guarded. Instead, it uses infrared sensing capabilities to find the base's power transmission lines. Holding the wire in hand, he took a deep breath, and the powerful electric current in his body instantly surged back into him. This immediately creates a powerful short-circuit-like fault. Sparks suddenly came out from the independent generator located underground, as did the surrounding wires. Thick smoke and flames instantly filled the power room. The entire base was suddenly plunged into darkness, with only some emergency lights emitting a dim green light. The people in the base started to panic, and all the guards went out to check the situation in the base. Fortunately, they soon discovered that there seemed to be only a malfunction in the power room. Logistics personnel rushed to put out the fire and replace the lines, and the backup generator is expected to start within a few minutes. A false alarm. The guards breathed a sigh of relief and returned to their posts. At this moment, Cohen had quietly completed his arrangements in the base and began to sneak into the core area. The lights were dim. He not only had an optical invisibility cloak, but also the breath concealment technique. He only needed to stand close to the wall and the guard in front of him would walk past him without noticing. The core area of the prison is a spherical space located underground, built entirely of plastic. There is only one elevator going straight up there. Cohen pasted a piece of plastic explosive on the elevator door, looked at his watch, and counted 3, 2, 1. Boom! There were several explosions in the base at the same time. The monitoring room was bombed, the supervisor's office was bombed, the cafeteria was bombed, and the toilet was also bombed! This time, there was real chaos in the base. Cohen looked at the deep elevator shaft and jumped down. In front of me was a thick non-metallic door, and I followed the same method. The moment the door was blown open, several plastic bullets broke through the smoke and dust and shot out. Unfortunately, their aim was not good and all of them missed the target. Cohen raised his hand and fired several palm cannons, knocking several guards to the ground instantly. This is also a masterpiece of Anton and his son, or to be more precise, a high-end imitation. In the plastic cell, Magneto was filled with despair. He guessed Stryker's plan, but he could do nothing now! Could it be that the day of mutant extinction is today? What made him even more miserable was that he had an unshakable responsibility for this matter. Charles was captured by them. Even if there were a few X-Men left, it would be useless. They were all trash and could not stop Stryker at all! Despair. Just then, he suddenly felt a violent vibration. He was startled, then filled with joy. Could it be someone came to save him? He was like a drowning man who grabbed a life-saving straw. Great, come quickly, mutants are facing the danger of extinction. I have to go out and save them! Soon, he saw the entrance to the cell, where a young man was standing, looking at him with a smile. Are you a mutant, brother? Take me out now. As soon as he finished speaking, the young man suddenly floated into the air and flew towards him! Magneto was even more surprised. Look, he can fly. He must be a young hero among our mutants! Looking at Cohen in front of the door, Magneto said anxiously, Hurry, let's go. I know Stryker's shocking conspiracy. We must stop him. Eric, I'm here to kill you. Magneto was stunned. Kill me? Why? You colluded with Stryker, betrayed the Professor and Xavier Institute, and put mutants in danger. All mutants want you dead. Cohen said seriously. No, I have not. Magneto's chest heaved. How could I betray the mutants? How could I betray myself? Facts speak for themselves. Asshole, that guy Stryker has the means to control mutants. I was forced. Haha, I don't believe it. Cohen's light words choked Magneto. He gritted his teeth, turned around, and showed Cohen the wound on the back of his neck. This is the evidence that he controls me. I'm not lying. After reading it, Cohen smiled coldly. He wants to control you, so you let him control you? You don't love yourself that much, don't you know how to resist? Damn it, Magneto almost vomited blood. Are you talking human language? Didn't you see the guard's stick? It was big, thick and hard! My face is blue and red, and you say I didn't resist. Cohen continued, Eric, this is the judgment of your mutant brothers. You betrayed your compatriots. I betrayed you, you bastard, you bastard! Magneto was furious, and he leaned on the plastic door and yelled, Do you know that mutants may be extinct soon? You are still slandering me here. Humph, you're in a hurry. Cohen slowly took out a small iron box, found the air vent on the door, covered it, and pulled out the cover. Magneto was startled by his action and took 2 steps back, looking cautious. What do you want to do? Dong dong. Cohen knocked on the bottom of the box several times, but there was no response. As his mind moved, several tiny arcs of electricity flashed between his fingers and were transmitted to the small iron box. In an instant, a buzzing sound was heard, and dozens of slender, fat yellow bees flew out and flew into Magneto's cell through the air vents. What is this? Magneto stepped back in horror, shouting. Cohen shrugged. Insecta, Pterygoda, Hymenoptera, a pity, killer bee. The killer bees that had just been electrocuted were obviously extremely angry. They soon discovered Magneto in front of them and attacked him in an instant. No, don't come over here, get away. Tisk, Cohen closed his eyes, unable to bear to watch this tragic scene. He waited until more than half of the dozens of killer bees were exhausted to death before he turned and left. At the elevator door, a team of elite soldiers were holding bulletproof shields and rifles, waiting for the invaders below to come up. but what they never expected was that the first things to fly up were a few pieces of shaped explosives. Boom boom! A group of people were blown to pieces with blood all over the ground. Cohen then flew up leisurely and left the base easily. Before he returned to the Avengers base, he received a system prompt. Mission accomplished. Character level, diamond level. Upgrade, not upgraded. Cause of death, death by poisonous bee sting. Freshness, 5 stars. End of life emotions, anger, anxiety. Emotional rating, 5 stars. Comprehensive task evaluation, 5 stars! Special rewards for 5-star reviews. Gift packages are being upgraded. Reward, Diamond 5-star gift package. Double luck. Lao Wan is worthy of being the scene setter in the Marvel world. Even as a prisoner, he is on the same level as the director of SHIELD. Come, Jade Emperor, Buddha, Guanyin Bodhisattva, and the 10 Kings of Hell, bless me! Open the gift bag. End of this chapter. Chapter 77 Wolverine is awesome. Chapter 77 Wolverine is awesome. Congratulations on winning the reward, Spirit of Vengeance. The system has been updated and can be viewed. Cohen looked at the system and scratched his head. This is stabbed Ghost Rider's Pai Yanzi again. Wow, that's pretty cool. In the system, he saw the additional skills of the Spirit of Vengeance, Eye of Judgment, Hellfire, and Immortality. The Eye of Judgment is used to judge sinners, and the Fire of Hell is the source of power. As for his immortality, it currently only allows him to remain immortal during his transformation. But it's not a big problem, just transform diligently. More importantly, Ghost Rider's immortality makes him immune to many magics and curses. This means that his magic resistance ability instantly increased significantly from nothing to something. Diamond level gift pack, so terrifying. He glanced at the system and saw that the next level was called King. Hiss, I wonder if Comrade Guanhai can reach this level. As for whether he was a criminal, Cohen wasn't too worried. Because if he is not, it means that he has seriously failed in his duty as President of the United States. Sensing the explosive power in his body, he suddenly felt that he was missing something. Mount. What a cool mount. Throughout history, Ghost Rider's mounts have included the Hellfire Mammoth, the Hellfire Horse, and the Hellfire Motorcycle, all of which are very cool. But what should I get for a ride? An old pickup truck from the church? Buy a Ferrari, or steal a fighter jet? Wait, the X-Men have a cool plane. But I still feel uncomfortable. He suddenly frowned. Speaking of S.H.I.E.L.D., does it have a huge flying ship called what's it called? Nick Fury, my old baby, how come you have everything? While Cohen was happily opening the gift package, Professor Charles was being tortured. Not physically, but mentally. His opponent is another extremely powerful level 4 mutant, Stryker's son, the Illusion Master Jason. The professor had a brain wave suppressor on his head. He fell into Johnson's fantasy several times, but broke free with his strong will. Unfortunately, as Stryker said, you are more afraid of him than I am. The professor, who was helpless against Johnson all those years ago, is now unable to resist the illusion due to his abilities being suppressed. On the other side, Phoenix and Storm, who had finally found the presidential assassin, Nightcrawler Kurt, just returned to the academy and were surprised to find that the school was gone. The former home has turned into a wasteland, and there are many soldiers in military uniforms on the ruins, seemingly doing the finishing work. The two looked at each other. They didn't dare to land, so they flew back up to high altitude and circled for a long time. Then they thought of Cohen and tried to call him. Then, this sci-fi-looking high-speed aircraft landed at Cohen's base. After some discussion, everyone quickly identified the real culprit behind the scenes, Stryker. After Cohen's reminder, Jane helped Nightwalker Kurt recover his memory and found Stryker's secret base. Yakri Lake Dam. Everyone set off immediately. Wolverine, Jane, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Blade and Frank led by Coin. The dam spillway is the entrance to the Stryker base and a strong line of defense. As long as he wants, he can open the gate and everything in the spillway will be washed out by the high-pressure water flow. If you want to enter the base, you need some tricks. In the huge passage, only Wolverine was seen walking forward. Coming to a thick alley door, he looked at the camera above. "Stryker, I'm here." After he finished shouting, he stood there quietly. After a while, two small doors suddenly opened behind him, and several fully armed soldiers came over and surrounded him. After putting special handcuffs on him, the huge alley door in front of them began to slowly open. Stryker appeared at the door, and with just one glance he was sure that the guy in front of him was really Wolverine. "Hey, Wolf Cub, welcome home." Wolverine raised a smile. "I'm not the only one coming back this time." As soon as he finished speaking, Stryker saw that in the distance of the spillway, a piece of the wall seemed to suddenly peel off and fall directly to the ground. Two figures suddenly appeared. His heart sank, and he instantly realized that the fallen piece of wall should be a camouflage cloth. Because the distance was so far, their cameras didn't detect any clues at all! And one of those two people was a blue-skinned night walker that he was familiar with. One of them was the great hero Cohen, whom he had just met not long ago. Looking at the open door, Cohen smiled and asked the night walker next to him, "Now, can you teleport me behind that door?" Earlier, Nightcrawler said that he could only teleport to places he could see, so teleporting directly into Stryker's base wouldn't work. "Of course, Mr. Cohen." The moment he saw Nightwalker and Cohen, Stryker knew that this gate could not be defended. As he retreated, he shouted, "Fire, kill them all." As soon as he finished speaking, a cloud of blue smoke suddenly appeared next to Wolverine. The Night Walker stayed for only a moment before teleporting out again. The remaining Cohen and Wolverine faced bullets from all directions. Ding-lin clang. PFFT, PFFT. The bullet hitting Cohen was like hitting a steel wall. It either bounced out or turned into a copper pancake and fell to the ground. And the Wolverine next to him, how can it be a tragic word! Bullets swarmed at him, leaving countless holes all over his body, and blood even splattered half of Cohen's body. The force of the bullet was transmitted to him, and Wolverine was like the people in the cheesy TV shows, swaying all over but too strong to fall down. Cohen waved his hand, and a large amount of lightning shot out, and all the soldiers in sight were electrocuted and turned yellow. Wolverine finally fell down and knelt on the ground, blood spurting out of his mouth. Next time don't look for me for something like this." Cohen looked at the blood splattered on his body with disdain and rolled his eyes. "If there is a next time, I will definitely not stand so close to you." Cohen flashed in front of another large iron door that was about to close. He pushed with both hands, and the heavy alley door that was about to close was stuck by him. "This is the flood discharge operation room. If we don't take it down, no one else can get in." Several soldiers inside looked at him in horror. This was a 10-ton electric motor-driven gate, and he could actually stop it with his bare hands. In a panic, several soldiers quickly picked up their pistols and emptied the magazines at him. Cohen shook his head helplessly, his heart moved, and he exploded with anger. The strength that instantly doubled allowed him to push the alley door open easily. He just killed a few people inside. Through surveillance, he discovered that a large number of soldiers were gathering here, and Stryker was in a hurry, probably to speed up his plan to eliminate mutants. At this time, Phoenix, Storm, Frank, Blade, and others finally arrived at the entrance gate. Everyone gasped as they watched Wolverine's body being continuously expelled from bullets, with bullets already scattered all around him. What a brutal enemy. So poor guy. Frank gave Wolverine a thumbs up. "You are really good. Brothers, I have tried my best. I was a little caught off guard when the work was put on the shelves and I didn't have any drafts saved. If the subscription is okay, I will add another chapter tomorrow." End of this chapter. Chapter 78. If you don't save me and I don't save you, the professor will suffer. Chapter 78. If you don't save me and I don't save you, the professor will suffer too. And whenever one found out from the computer in the flood discharge operation room that most of the electricity generated by the dam's generator sets flowed to one place. That's where Stryker dismantled the Xavier Institute's brainwave enhancer and reassembled it. The professor is also there, being controlled by the Master of Illusion, and is planning to kill all the mutants in the world. Cohen clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. Everyone, our most important task now is to stop the professor. Let's all work together. I'm going to find Stryker. Looking at the short and fat middle-aged man in the surveillance video, Wolverine showed a crazy look in his eyes and said firmly. Cohen paused for a moment. The hatred for murdering one's wife was irreconcilable. He understood. Well, the rest of us will come together. I have to save the children first. Storm looked at the several imprisoned mutant children with an expression of pity on her face. Cohen was silent for a moment and said, Okay, save the children. I have nothing to say. The rest of us I'm going to find Scott. Phoenix Girl looked at Cyclops, who was controlled in the surveillance video, her eyes full of heartache and worry. Well, this is love. Nightcrawler suddenly raised his hand. He wanted to go with Storm to rescue the children. By this calculation, the only people left to rescue the professor are Cohen, Colossus, Blade, and Frank. Ha ha. I'm just an outsider, but in the end I become the main force in saving the professor. Are you guys looking forward to the professor's death more than I am? He was complaining in his mind when Frank glanced at him obliquely. Are these the players you prepared for? Cohen rolled his eyes and shrugged. He had never expected such a mess. He finally understood why Magneto and Mystique were able to arrive at the location of the brainwave enhancer in advance in the original movie. After some operations, the professor changed his goal from extinction of mutants to extinction of ordinary people. It turns out that all of the professor's teammates are talented. Now that Magneto has been killed by him and Mystique didn't get involved, he ended up taking over the role of Magneto, right? Okay, don't regret it! Wolverine, Storm, Phoenix, and others left one by one. Cohen looked at Blade and Frank. There is a lot of evidence here of Stryker's human experiments and research on mutants. You two should collect the information in this regard first, and don't miss anything. After saying that, he turned to Colossus and said, Let's go and save the professor. Just after turning a corner, he stopped again and patted Colossus on the shoulder. I suddenly remembered that I have something else to do. You go save the professor first. I'll be back soon. Colossus stood there in a daze. Wolverine followed Stryker all the way, and Cohen followed Wolverine all the way. There was a sudden huge tremor in the base. There were fierce battles going on in many places, so no one paid attention. But a drop of water hit Cohen in the face. Looking up, I saw several tiny cracks appearing on the dam above my head. He shrugged helplessly. It seemed that somewhere, a Phoenix girl was violently training her husband. The Phoenix power in her body had been stirring for a long time, and when it exploded, it damaged the dam. This dam is already on the countdown to destruction. However, this small crack will not destroy the dam instantly. The entire base can at least hold out for an hour or so, if no one continues to destroy it. On the other side, Wolverine came to a halt, and a familiar feeling instantly came to his heart. He saw pictures of skeletons, some of his own and some of others. In the middle, there is a huge water tank, and next to it is a hot furnace with boiling liquid metal boiling inside. Stryker suddenly walked out from a side passage, followed by a slender Asian woman. He smiled and said, Hello, little wolf cub. Do you remember this place? This is where you evolve and upgrade. This is where I created you. Looking at the face in front of him, endless anger accumulated in Logan's heart. Playing tilde-6 steel claws broke through the skin, and he said angrily, Bullshit evolution. This is clearly the place where you plotted against me and tortured me! I will never forget this place in my life, and I will never let you forget this place either. Stryker was not panicked at all, but smiled and said, I'm the person who knows you best in this world, even better than you know yourself. Without me, who will pity you? A wolf cubby like you a lot, Logan. Tough, unyielding, stubborn, I can see a part of myself in you. The only pity is that you are a mutant. He smiled wryly. This has completely wiped out all my good feelings towards you. It's like you suddenly changed from a wolf king who howled at the moon to a mangy dog with messy fur. What a pity. Wolverine couldn't bear to hear it anymore. Die, you pig. He jumped up and rushed towards Stryker. While he was in midair, a figure suddenly appeared and kicked him, causing him to spin 2.5 weeks in the air before falling to the ground. When I looked up, it was the Asian woman who had been following Stryker in silence. Stryker laughed. Little wolf cub, death girl, please meet me. Just let her play with you. After saying that, he turned around and left. Wolverine tried to chase after him, but was stopped by Deathstroke. Step aside. He let out a low roar, but the Death Lady didn't move. Wolverine's face flashed with anger, and he was about to take action when a voice suddenly came from behind him. Okay, Logan, leave her to me. You go chase Stryker. He turned around and saw Cohen coming over. He was stunned. Didn't you go to rescue the professor? Cohen waved his hands and stared at the dead woman. Save her. Wait a minute. Isn't it also saving people if I save the beautiful woman who is controlled by Stryker first? There is no distinction between high and low human lives. Wolverine's eyes widened. But isn't the professor being controlled by someone going to kill all mutants? Why don't you save him first? I'm not as familiar with him as you are. If you're not anxious, why should I be anxious? Wolverine paused and opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Seeing this, Cohen waved his hand and said, Hey, it was just a joke. I have already arranged for someone to rescue the professor. Wolverine breathed a sigh of relief and quickly asked, Is it Storm or Phoenix? Colossus. Oh, who else? Colossus. Wolverine. Seeing him standing there in a daze, Cohen waved his hand and said, Okay, go chase Stryker. I promise you won't die. Wolverine looked hesitant. Are you sure? Cohen glanced at him and said, Logan, you are talking to the savior of New York and the one who saved millions of lives. Are you sure you want to question me? Wolverine was stunned and nodded. Okay, I believe you. He chased directly in the direction Stryker left. Death Woman wanted to stop him, but Cohen flashed and grabbed her wrist. No matter how she struggled, she couldn't break free from Cohen's grip. When Logan completely disappeared, he smiled at the death girl, lowered his head and bit her neck. Cohen's mutated blood was injected into the body of the dead woman. His bloodline had already been upgraded, so the transformation speed of the Death Lady was extremely fast. Moreover, the power in this blood instantly broke through the control over her by the liquid secreted from the brain of the illusion master Johnson. After a while, the Death Woman seemed to have just woken up from a dream, and her eyes instantly became clear and bright. But after seeing Cohen, she lowered her head and called out docilely like a cat, Master. Cohen nodded and walked over to the adamantium furnace. He reached behind his back and took out several specially made strips, which he placed over the adamantium furnace. This is a heater specially made by Anton and his son, which can ensure that even if he moves the entire furnace, the adamantium inside will not solidify. Adamantium is an alloy made up of several different substances that, after being fused together, will enter a solid state once cooled. After that, it is difficult to destroy and difficult to melt again. With this furnace of adamantium alloy, his thunder armor is safe. At this moment, the ground suddenly shook violently again. Phoenix is not done taming your husband, right? I'll let Cyclops sue you in the Avengers Federation someday! Taming the husband is a small matter, damaging the dam is a big matter. He waved to the Death Woman and said, You stay here and protect this furnace of adamantium. After saying this, his figure turned into a shadow and disappeared into the passage. Bang! 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 At the door of the brainwave enhancer, the smoke had not yet dissipated, and Colossus stood helplessly in front of a thick alley door. His mood was broken. He finally killed the dozen or so soldiers who stayed behind, but the gate in front of him blocked his way. Even though he almost smashed his steel arm, only some shallow dents appeared on the alley door. But he didn't collapse because of this, but we agreed to save mutants together. Why am I the only one here? Aren't you afraid of death? At this moment, he had great doubts about the education at Xavier College. And that damn hero, trash, useless exclamation now, maybe he has escaped, bastard. What a hero exclamation at this time. The professor, who was just across the door, completed the locking of all mutants. The little girl that Jason transformed into whispered in his ear, "Kill. Kill them." Immediately, a huge spiritual force instantly spread to the entire world. Colossus was the first to feel the pain, but the time difference was so short that it was almost non-existent. Mutants in the entire base, and even the entire world, immediately felt the same pain. An invisible force surged into their heads, trying to burst them. The Phoenix girl, who had just finished training her husband, sensed this power in advance. She was shocked and murmured in disbelief, "Brainwave enhancer, it's too late, how could this happen?" Storm and Nightcrawler, along with a group of children, were also on their way to the brainwave enhancer. A huge amount of mental power surged up and they fell to the ground in pain. Some were crying, some were howling, some were afraid, and some were desperate. Steel Warrior knelt in front of the alley door and hit the door with his right hand weakly but stubbornly, with an expression of unwillingness in his eyes. "Hey, little steel man, I'm here to save you." Suddenly, a relaxed and cheerful voice came from behind. I turned around with difficulty. It was Cohen. His vision began to blur and he cursed in his heart. "It's too late for you now, bastard!" exclamation. He could sense that the invisible force in his mind had reached a certain threshold, and the next moment, his head would explode. Boom! A violent explosion. In an instant, Colossus felt that power disappear. He gasped for breath and looked at the smiling man beside him in disbelief. Cohen understood the surprise in his eyes. "Hey, you don't think I didn't do anything? What did you do?" Humph! Cohen snorted coldly, raised his hand, and an arc of electricity flashed. Almost all the electricity generated by the entire dam is supplied to the brainwave enhancer. Coincidentally, I have a strong sensitivity to electricity. Just now, I found the power supply line of the brainwave amplifier and blew it up. Without energy supply, the enhancer is just a pile of scrap metal. Colossus breathed a sigh of relief. He was an honest man and began to apologize. "I'm sorry, I thought you still think I'm a useless piece of, don't you?" Colossus opened his mouth awkwardly, unable to speak. Cohen waved his hand and stared at the alley door in front of him. With his strength, he can open the door with a burst of anger, but there are 2 level 4 mutants behind the door. Professor Charles and Master of Illusion Johnson are among the most powerful mutants in the world. The only one who can surpass them is Jane, who possesses the power of the Phoenix. The other mutants are at levels 1, 2, and 3. However, mutants can evolve through certain opportunities, such as Apocalypse, who can help mutants evolve. As for Apocalypse himself, he could be a level 5 mutant, or he could be a level 4 extreme peak mutant. The reason why Cohen used the method of blowing up the power lines to stop the professor was that he was worried that if he suddenly broke in, these 2 guys would join forces to attack him. "My own soul defense is unlikely to be able to block their power!" exclamation. "Well, be careful." A thought came to my mind and I exploded. Cohen's 2 steel-like arms punched the alley door again, and soon a large area of the door was dented and a crack slowly appeared. He did not open the door immediately. Instead, he pointed his finger and a bolt of lightning shot out, instantly rushing towards the 2 people behind the door. The powerful electric current instantly knocked the 2 of them unconscious. Only then did he feel at ease to open the alley door and walk in. Looking at the 2 people in the wheelchairs, the system prompts that these 2 guys are all diamond level prey like Magneto exclamation before. The system had not determined that the professor was prey, but now he was. That is to say, he probably killed quite a few people in the attack on mutants just now. For example, mutants who are injured or sick, mutants who are aging and dying, and mutants who have just been born! Looking at the two unconscious people, Cohen's appetite increased. Although you currently need a triple kill to complete the diamond gift pack, you can definitely find someone to help you get it together! For example, US Vice President Trump, Prime Minister Abe San, and President Akihiroshi Waki. These people can at least reach the diamond level. Killing frequently is certainly not a good idea as it can easily lead to trouble, but killing one occasionally shouldn't be a big problem, right? But a new problem is that it is not easy for the Professor and Johnson, two people with extremely strong mental powers, to reach a 5-star emotional level. Especially Johnson, after being transformed and tortured by Stryker, he is no longer a normal person. The only person who could cause his emotions to fluctuate was Stryker. After reaching a higher level, many of the prey you face are outstanding among humans, which makes them difficult to deal with! But for a gift package of this level, it would be a loss if it doesn't reach 5 stars. If he gets a few hundred attribute points, it would be better for him to drop a few bombs in Afghanistan. What can stir their emotions? Johnson is very simple, Stryker. Even though Wolverine has killed the real Stryker now, there is still the mutant Mystique who can impersonate the fake one. Can teach. End of this chapter. Chapter 79 Ao Guanhai, what can I get? Chapter 79 Ao Guanhai, what can I get? Cohen suddenly shook his head and smiled. How could he forget? Didn't he just kill a lot of people? Can the professor, who has always claimed to be the protector of mutants, accept his own killing? That's easy. Gather all the information and evidence, choose a suitable time, and let the sinner atone for his sins. Cohen smiled and shouted to the steelman behind him, "Little steelman, the dam is leaking, take the professor away." On the way out, they met up with Frank, Phoenix, Storm, and others, and also encountered Wolverine, who came to pick them up. The dam could no longer hold up, it was leaking everywhere and was on the verge of collapse. Led by Wolverine, everyone left the base through the new exit. When passing by the hall where Wolverine was transformed, Cohen took Deathly Haunted Lady and carried the adamantium furnace. Several people came outside and saw a Chinook helicopter parked there. There were large bloodstains around and a trail of blood that went all the way to the bushes nearby. In the distance, the dam is about to collapse and the surging lake water will swallow this place in an instant. Everyone boarded the plane and Frank flew. The helicopter slowly rose, turned a corner, and flew over the X-Men's plane. The Blackbird and Storm flew down. In the distance, the dam collapsed. At the last second before the flood arrived, the Blackbird took off. Looking at the raging flood, Cohen knew that this was not over yet. The hatred and fear of mutants in the White House is still brewing. At the end of the original movie, when the president was about to make a national television speech about the assassination, the professor and his large group of thugs directly blocked the president in the Oval Office. Although they produced evidence to show that the assassination was committed by Stryker, in Cohen's opinion, this situation was simply stupid. What are they doing? Death threats to the President of the United States, directly in the White House. Based on this point alone, the mutant race deserves to die. Magneto and Charles are both very smart and they take great care of the mutants. Cohen doesn't intend to do that. He plans to have a good talk with the chocolate president. As the savior of New York, how can I not see you, real gangster? At the White House, Cohen made a phone call and Guanhai's secretary quickly arranged a meeting time for him. This is the purpose of the title Million Saviors. In the Oval Office, Guanhai sat behind the resolute desk with a serious face, looking carefully at Cohen in front of him. Meanwhile, Cohen was sizing him up. Sure enough, according to the system's judgment, he is a king-level prey. It feels like there's a wild cat in heat scratching my heart like crazy. What reward will the system give me if I throw this punch? Is it enough to take on the entire United States alone? All kinds of ideas came to my mind, including new ways to kill people and ways to arouse my emotions. Unconsciously, endless murderous intent began to emerge from his calm eyes. Guanhai didn't understand the meaning in his eyes. He just felt that this man's eyes were so cold, like frost. Is this the look of a hero? Quite handsome. Ahem, Mr. Cohen, you came to see me specifically. What's the matter? His words pulled Cohen out of his illusion. After careful consideration, he gave up the decision to kill Comrade Guanhai immediately. If you kill a country's commander directly, he will become the enemy of the whole world. The Marvel world is so complicated. If he were to incite a superpower arms race around the world would probably be in chaos. It's impossible that by the time he unifies the whole world will have already been rotten. Take your time, there is still a lot of time. He smiled and said, Mr. President, I came here this time to be a lobbyist. Oh, you are about to make a televised speech about the assassination, right? Guanhai frowned and nodded. The public has the right to know, and he must explain the situation clearly to the public. Mr. President, I hope you will not express your attitude towards the mutant community in your speech for the time being. Why? Guanhai said solemnly, Mr. Cohen, are you on good terms with them? Or are you? Cohen waved his hands. Of course I'm not a mutant, I just met them not long ago. The reason why I advise you this is because the United States needs them. What do you mean? Mr. President, you should remember the earthquake and demon invasion in Manhattan not long ago, the Morning Day incident in Afghanistan, and the Stark Factory missile incident not long ago, including your assassination and the subsequent collapse of the Yakri Lake Dam. Do you think all this was accidental? Guanhai was shocked. What do you want to say? This problem has long been noticed by people in the U.S. government, and a research report has been submitted. Cohen pointed to the sky and said, I have received an oracle from the gods that troubled times are coming and the United States will fall into more disasters. We need special protection. Guanhai narrowed his eyes. You mean mutants? Cohen nodded. Actually, it's all people with abilities. Mutants are just one of them. He smiled and said, Mr. Adams, the mayor of New York, has reached a preliminary agreement with me. I am forming a team called the Avengers, and they will be New York's heroic team. Whenever New York faces some major disaster or crime, the Avengers are there to take action. Guanhai understood. There are mutants in your team, so you want to plead for them? You can understand it that way, but I want to remind you that New York is not the only city in danger. In troubled times, the whole world will fall into disaster. The Avengers can not only save New York, but also save the United States! If you like. Guanhai was silent. He was thinking about the pros and cons of this. Mr. President, as far as I know, since the Afghan Morning Day incident, the troops stationed there have been frightened and are even reluctant to go out on patrol. There are rumors internationally that the United States has long been weak but strong on the outside. The White House and the Pentagon have been trying to reverse this perception, but to little avail. But now, isn't a strong Avengers team a powerful shot in the arm? Guanhai's heart trembled. The question of how to restore the U.S. military's confidence has been bothering him for many days. Previously, he compared using the armor of Cohen and Stark, and finally decided to give the armor a try. Unfortunately, the people he sent out didn't even get into the Stark family's door! The bastard Loki only gave him one reply, You want my armor? No way! He was very angry and immediately ordered the formation of a military committee to question Stark. But now Cohen had a ready-made solution before him. He was moved. Dang, he knocked on the table. The Avengers, what do you want from me? To soften the attitude towards mutants, recognize that the Avengers have certain law enforcement powers, and give them wages and social security. Order governments at all levels, the Pentagon and government departments to recognize them and provide convenience and assistance. If they have truly made a contribution, recognize them as a hero and give them honors and medals. Guanhai thought silently for a while, then nodded. Then, what can I get? A team of superpowered people protecting the people, upholding justice, resisting disasters, and blessing America. After listening, Guanhai smiled and shook his head. What else? Cohen also smiled, supporting you in the next election. Perfect. Thanks to Adan AJT for the reward and all the brothers for the monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 80 Green Muscle Big Fat Man. Chapter 80 Green Muscle Big Fat Man 121st Street and Broadway, northbound, New York. The crowd panicked and fled in all directions. A huge khaki-colored monster with spines on its back was wreaking havoc. Whoosh! A rocket was fired at it, trailing a thick cloud of smoke. Unexpectedly, the monster reacted extremely quickly, stretched out its hand and actually grabbed the rocket in its hand. A human-like smile appeared on its face, as if mocking the enemy's arrogance. Boom. The rocket was directly crushed by it, and a huge ball of fire enveloped it. In the distance, the soldiers were about to cheer when they saw the monster's head sticking out from the flames, and it was completely intact. The monster roared to the sky, and actually made a human voice. Give me an opponent. In the sky, a helicopter from the Daily Bugle TV station was circling over the monster, and the reporter sitting on it was none other than the old man Jameson. As the boss, he certainly didn't need to go to the front line to report. All this is because he got into trouble. At the beginning, he took money and named the armored man who massacred terrorists in Afghanistan the Human Can Man. He never expected that inside the can was billionaire Tony Stark. Without him noticing, Stark steals his home in the stock market. Who would have thought that when I woke up, there would be a boss above my head? Stark asked him to retire, but he refused, so he sent him to the front line as a reporter. He endured, but deep down in his heart he did not give up. What I lost, I must take back with my own hands! Looking at the terrifying monster under his feet, he shook his head, which was dizzy due to fear of heights, took a deep breath, and said loudly, Dear viewers, now we have an urgent news! A terrifying monster appeared on the streets of New York and was wreaking havoc on the streets! We saw some soldiers and police officers at the scene, and what a generous gift. They were smashed into pieces by the monster! God, where is the New York Xavier? We need him. And there's also the incredibly powerful and lovable Iron Man Stark. He will surely be able to save the people from the water and fire. In the distance, the rooftop of a building. Coulson and Hawkeye were also paying attention to the developments. Coulson was holding a high-powered telescope and exclaimed as he looked, What a crazy beast! General Ross is in big trouble this time. I heard that he came here this time to arrest the monster that I almost flew to Brazil to capture last time. Could this be it? That old black man? The director is simply sending me to my death. Next to him, Hawkeye Barton had a look of indifference. He did not carry his signature weapon, the bow and arrow, but instead a long Japanese sword. In the Battle of the Demon Invasion, he lost his right eye. Although it was replaced with an extremely powerful mechanical prosthetic eye, he could no longer shoot arrows. Every time he picked up a bow and arrow, he would think of the police officers and agents he had shot and killed. The arrows he shot could no longer hit the target, so I used a long knife instead. Looking at the roaring monsters and the fleeing people under the night sky, he felt an inexplicable sense of disgust in his heart. He was tired of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s surveillance mission and felt that he could do something, such as going down and staying with the people. Whether alive or dead. He suddenly thought of his good friend Natasha, who had embarked on a journey of atonement to find the Red House. How wonderful. What about mine? Then, things changed. Jameson suddenly shouted passionately on the live TV, Dear viewers, our station has just received news that our savior is coming. He and his Avengers team are about to face the public for the first time, and their first mission is to kill this terrifying monster. Let us look forward to their performance. Oh my God, they are coming. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a bolt of lightning descended from the sky. The huge attack power directly caused the abomination that was wreaking havoc to feel severe pain, and it was knocked away in an instant. It is worth mentioning that this lightning was not emitted by Cohen, but by Storm. The abomination was flying in the air, and before he landed, a real Iron Man covered in silver light appeared behind him. Bang! Colossus delivered a powerful punch and the abomination continued its journey in the air. The next moment, a red laser shot out. The powerful impact caused the abomination to suffer severe damage, and it immediately changed its flying direction. Wolverine stretched out his 6 steel claws and glanced at the unsheathed blade of the long knife next to him. "Hey, man, are you ready?" Blade showed his snow-white teeth. "Humph. I have killed at least 800 monsters, if not 1,000! I think I can kill it by myself." Wolverine rolled his eyes. "What a boast!" Looking at the hatred getting closer and closer, he jumped up and said, "Die, monster." Puff, puff. As soon as the abomination fell to the ground, before he could react, Wolverine jumped onto his chest and drove his steel claws into his chest. Even skin and muscles strong enough to block rockets were no match for the sharp adamantium claws. Abomination was furious and raised his arms to strangle Wolverine's neck, but he saw a flash of silver light. Pachai! A shiny long knife suddenly appeared on his right arm, penetrating into the bone! Blade was a little embarrassed. He originally wanted to chop off the monster's arm directly, but he didn't expect its bones to be so hard. The knife is stuck in the bone and can't be pulled out. The intense pain made the hatred more angry than ever before. It roared wildly and threw Wolverine away. He stood up, gritted his teeth and pulled the knife from his arm, staring at the blade and moving forward step by step. Blade cursed inwardly, drew the pistol from his waist, and retreated while firing. The abomination leaped up, raised his fists high, and smashed at the blade. At the critical moment, Cyclops arrived in time and fired a red laser, knocking the abomination away again. Reluctantly, he got up in disgust, only to find that there were people surrounding him. Storm in the air, Colossus covered in silver, Wolverine with 6 steel claws, and Blade holding 2 guns. There is also Cyclops in the distance, ready to fire lasers at any time, and Frank, the battlefield commander, holding a rifle on the building next to him. The battle between the two sides begins again. Cohen did not directly participate in the battle. He stood in the air, suspended between the tall buildings, just watching the battle. It's the Avengers' first battle, and the members need some time to get used to each other. At the same time, he also has to guard against another monster entering the scene. Almost at the same time as the Avengers team entered, Dr. Banner jumped out of the plane. He smashed a big hole in the ground, and after crawling out, he slapped his head in confusion, as if something had broken off. But soon, the miserable howl of hatred attracted his attention. There are many people who are paying attention to this battle. Nick Fury, his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. The Amazing Squad. The Avengers. This is all my creativity. How come all of it was taken away by that bastard Cohen at Onzafake? There must be an undercover agent in the Bureau. How could he come up with such a brilliant idea? Bastard, I must catch this undercover and kill him. After making up his mind, he took a look at the Avengers team fighting passionately with Abomination on TV, and suddenly picked up a document on the table. Since the Avengers showed up early, he didn't plan to wait any longer. From now on, he would start organizing SHIELD's own extraordinary team. Working title: Justice League. It's much more impressive than the Avengers, although a little bit childish. The document on the table is some of the targets he has selected. For example, the poker gambler in Alaska, the giant muscle man detained by the Department of Homeland Security. Closing the file, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Wait, Cohen. My Justice League will definitely beat your Avengers. Also watching this battle is the White House. President Okanagan and a group of senior government officials were staring at the TV broadcast. What the soldiers in the Ministry of Defense are concerned about is whether this team is strong enough and whether it can fill in the gaps in the military's broken legs. President Guanhai has higher demands. He expects this team to not only win, but also win beautifully so as to attract popularity. Just imagine if in a presidential election there were suddenly several captains with hot butts helping you canvass for votes. What would that be like? It can simply kill the opponent! Cohen was flying in the air, paying attention not only to the battle scene, but also to another place, where hatred was born. There's a ton of precious Hulk serum there, and an even more precious a big-headed doll. Or Dr. Stern, the person who has done the most in-depth research on the Hulk serum in the world. Before the Avengers officially took action, he sent Deathly Hallows, Erica, and 9 spiders to sneak into Dr. Stern's laboratory. On the one hand, it is to obtain the Hulk's blood, and on the other hand, it is to control the Doctor who is transforming into the villain Big Boss. They succeeded. The big-headed doll was still in the process of transformation when it was given an injection of anesthetic and fell into a deep sleep. Afterwards, they packed up a large amount of Hulk's blood and burned the parts that could not be taken away. Cohen was happier than ever, which meant his other plan. There is some sign of victory over the army of hatred. If the big-headed doll is powerful enough, his wish of unifying the world will almost certainly come true. Not only the Earth, but even 8,000 abominations will conquer hell and capture the devil to be his concubine. The Avengers suppressed the abomination. Storm's lightning is hard control, Cyclops' laser is the main output, Wolverine and Colossus hold the line, Frank commands remotely, and Blade is the jungler. After being poked dozens of holes by Wolverine, it finally realized that its recovery ability was beginning to weaken. It has taken too much damage, lightning, lasers, bullets, claws, fists with victory in sight. Not only the Avengers were delighted, but the audience in front of the TV were also encouraged. However, at this moment, the TV broadcast suddenly turned the camera to other places. Another terrifying monster appeared between the tall buildings! He was green all over, with strong muscles. Each of his jumps was dozens of meters high, and he even stepped on the concrete floor and made pits. Jameson said excitedly, "Dear audience, another monster has appeared, a green muscle monster. Oh my god, the Avengers are in danger. This monster doesn't look simple!" Oh, what I see, he is coming, amidst thousands of thunder and lightning! New York, the Savior. End of this chapter. Alright legends, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.